Okay, everybody, welcome back to Sabado Sessions podcast, and we're back with Talk of the Week segment. Indy and Mo, our usuals, and none other than Sir Tony Cliffe over here. We have him on just for this episode. Just to begin with, on a more positive note, we just like to celebrate the GB lifters on the upcoming Worlds in Malta 2023. Final nominations are not out, so we can speak upon this. We'll start from lower weight classes all the way to the higher ones. So we'll probably do like ladies, men's. So just to begin with, for ladies, in the 57 kilo class, we have Bobby Butters and Adejoke Adetayo. So yeah, uh, lads, anything to comment about the either two lifters before I start mentioning how many caps they've had or experience they've had internationally? Mo?
Adedric is your lifter, so probably you're the one who can give us the most information. And then we have our own legendary Bobby Butters. She seems to be doing good. She's being trained by Henry Tush right now, so training looks really good. She hasn't done any heavy singles from what I've seen so far, but she looks on track to be healthier and hopefully put up a big performance at IBF Worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, Adejoke is my lifter. Um, yeah, she's not very active on the social medias, so in terms of her training, it's looking really well in comparison to the prep at her last comp, which was the British Nationals. But yeah, it's her first, so it's her debut internationally, so a lot to cover for her headspace even because man, it's her first time out. But on to Bobby Butters. Yeah, go on, sorry.
How does it make you feel, Joey? You've had obviously Durance has made it to Worlds and Adedric has made it to Worlds.
I
You
mean,
yourself
just
as a
said the June
coach.
made it to word like it's the first time. Come on. You could
Yeah,
just
don't
put a
you?
pin on
I
that.
actually wanted to send for him, but I decided to put a positive spin.
Have some respect on the Commonwealth champ.
I was waiting. I thought Mo was going to end it with, and you're not going to Worlds.
Hey man, if I can't do it, I live vicariously through them, which I have no problem with. If I can't, then I guess to some extent they're an extension of me. So yeah, no bad feelings. Like I'm happy that I make others happy. So yeah.
I think you're a fantastic coach, man. Like the balls it takes to give your cages to other people, like I said before.
That is true.
Best coach in the world, right here.
Is it Tony Cliffe is just looking at you thinking, what kind of fluff are you talking about, bro? You should work for yourself.
A quick question though, Joey, and wasn't she in the reserve list though?
Yeah, she was.
So
First on the reserves. Someone had to be removed in order for her to be selected. Obviously. Yeah.
Who was that?
I believe it was a 63 lifter.
Okay.
But obviously since the change, she's therefore been removed. But
Okay.
since she's not on the list anymore, unfortunately for her and other circumstances around that situation, we're back to the other 57 lifter we have going, Bobby Butters, who has had 5 international comps done under her belt. A few like I wouldn't really count Arnold's as it is international, but it's still on home soil, so I'll keep it at that. I mean, she's also done invitationals, the Girl Power in France. So I would definitely say Bobby Butters is very seasoned in her respective weight class, competing internationally. Now for men's, we have another debut in the 59s, which none other than Ishak Nabi, I believe his last name is. His training, he's been posting rigorously and religiously about his training, about how it's going on. It's going well. Congratulations to him. He got what he needed to be selected and reached the criteria to be selected as well. But yeah, then moving on, we have the 63 women's.
Oh, Joe, you're moving on too quick here. Bobby has made the podium.
Yes,
for the last 4 years, right? So
yeah.
Oh yes, she has. Yeah, you're right.
Well, so I think I just want to shout out to Bobby because Bobby's one of the favourites there as well. And I think with Joy not being there and Joy moving up to the 63s, she's likely to make the podium again. And it's just a case of what position.
Where?
I think
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
where she lands. You know?
I wonder how
Well,
she's
when-
feeling though. She's had Joy in her weight class for a little while now, hasn't she?
Pretty much since she came about, isn't it? When Joy's been. So I always say this to Bobby Butter. She's one of the greatest lifter Britain had ever produced in the 57. But unfortunately, she's just in the era where Joy is there. That's the problem. Do you know what I mean? If Joy was no 57, Bobby would have probably been a world champion now, twice or even 3 times. It's just because she has got Joy in her weight class. But in terms of like performance-wise, internationally, or even at the Europeans, when you count the GB lifters, Bobby's up there. She always performed every year. She always performed. She always podium, or she's either like what, top 2, top 3, or top 4, top 3, top 3. I've never seen her being like 5th. Never since I've started lifting. So that's when it comes to performance. These are the performances we should highlight. It's just tremendous.
Okay. Yeah, I can't dispute that. Again, we just mentioned already, Joy Nnamani. She's gonna move up to 63s it's gonna be her debut as well. 63s internationally at Worlds. But yeah, she's a very seasoned international lifter as well. Won, I think, 4 times World Championships, right?
Yeah, I think she won.
52s, 57s twice.
She won 3, I think.
Oh,
She won
sorry.
3. Yeah, 52, 57 twice.
Oh, yes.
Talking about Joy as well, right? This is probably going to bring me on the hot waters as always. Every week I have to bring a controversy here. She didn't know that her name, she could actually put her name as a 57. This pissed me off. We were at the squad, right? I'm happy, Joy. To be fair, I'm happy for the Joker getting the spot. She's part of our team. I'm happy for her. But when I asked Joy, I said, "Why are you going to World as a 63?" She said, "Because I did the national as a 63." I said, "But you did Sheffield as 57." I was like, "Oh, nobody told me that I could go to World as a 57." I
So it's
thought
an
I could only
accident
go.
then, as in.
So basically, more got this translation from Parker doing Sheffield and all of that. She didn't get that. She didn't know even that she had to request it. So that's why she went to the national. So if she was told like, okay, you're doing Sheffield as 57, you don't need to do nationals. We're just gonna get your total from Sheffield and go to World. She wouldn't be there at the nationals. She came to the national not knowing.
Whose fault? Like not.
Yeah, whose fault is that?
But
Though?
whose is it? Should that have been
straight
told
away
to her? Or?
Look, straight away, I blame her. Number one, I blame herself. I said to her, you should ask around, you should get your information. And number 2, I blame Tosh straight. I said, okay, Tosh should communicate with you. What are the options you had? You know, but at the same time, we are adult. We don't just expect a head coach to come to us and tell us what we need. You should have gone and get your information properly. So that's what I said. Like, she could have gone to World as a 57. So us talking here, I know Tony Cliffe said about Bobby being again one of the favorites to make podium, but we don't know where she's going to end up, 2nd, 3rd, or whatever. But having Joy in the 57, this would have been us saying here, she's guaranteed to win, or she's guaranteed to come 2nd because she's one of the best as a 57 in the world. That's where my point was. I was almost frustrated when she told me that I didn't know what to do on her way or how to get to the 57 world. That was a little bit frustrating there. I just wanted to highlight that.
Okay. Moving on from that, we'll bring up another man on the GB team now. After the Ishak, obviously, next weight class up, there's no 66, there's no 74s going, but the next man up is our very main man here, Durance Kangamu. Who? Any the guy that had a GL higher than yours, Tony, this year?
I don't remember that guy.
How are you gonna send for someone using someone else's GL points?
Like I said, I live vicariously through them, bro. If Durance ain't doing it, I go to do it for him.
Wait, we've gone on pretty quickly here. What about the men 66s?
There's no one going to Worlds.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Carry on.
Okay. Well, back to the topic at hand.
Indy, is it not just you are in the team because we don't have 66?
Probably.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Oh,
Indy.
70 or 74.
No.
Oh,
you're welcome, Indy. You're welcome.
We're missing 2.
Well, actually, no,
Indy
yeah,
has
because
replaced the 74. Yeah.
I think Indy surpassed A total by a larger margin than Pape. So Indy would have been in actually, irrespective.
Oh shit. Pip.
Yeah,
Don't-
so yo,
don't-
shut up, Commonwealth champ. You keep your opinions to yourself.
Oh, days, man.
Go on, move
so
on.
no, just gonna say endurance. Seasoned international lifter as well. Since 2018, he did his first worlds. I don't think we're really gonna count Commonwealth here, are we, lads?
What do you know, we lads? Come on, give me some respect, bro. What are you talking about,
Bro, you went
Brent.
against yourself.
Bro, it's not against myself. I had 5 people. It's just I was stronger than them. What are you talking about, bro?
Okay.
I mean,
Anyways,
fine.
moving on.
This is not a bench only when you just compare against yourself and you win.
Let's not linger on
Oh.
Commonwealths any longer.
Yeah,
than we
don't
need to.
linger on
Go on.
Commonwealth. How about we speak about 2016 British Men's Classic?
No, why are you talking about that, bro? What are you talking
Can
about?
we bring up the 2016 British Men's?
Anyway.
No.
Oh,
What happened at the
no.
2016
No.
British Men's Classic, Indy?
No,
Well,
honestly,
there was
I think we need to
77
know.
lifters and then 2 disqualified, right?
2016 nationals, no excuse. I was injured. They told me not to go and do the British, but because it was the first time I was going to be Owen Hubbard, I said I don't care. Even if it's gonna break me, I'm going. So I bombed
Wait.
down on bench.
And he broke
Do
you.
you know who came first on Wilkes here, Tony?
Was it me?
The Tony Cliffe. This is like 4 decades ago, so you were only 31 then. But you hit a 912 total and you got a 525.13 Wilkes.
Hey, don't forget about Joey though. What happened to you, Joey? Go on.
I don't know, but moving on to
Joey even lost on disqualification. He came last. He came below.
you know what? Listen, 2016 was a write-off for both Durance and I, and we'll leave it at that, okay? So that was it for the men's 83s. The women's now. The dynamic duo from Scotland, Tasmin Campbell and Annie Nelson, representing the 69 GBs.
They're looking
man,
strong.
yes. Oh my god. Tasmin's deadlift, Annie's squat. Jesus, like
She just squatted 190, isn't it?
It's going to be
She
close
just-
between them two.
She
She
just
did
did
190 for
190, isn't it?
single, 210 for double, and then Tasmin's done 220 for deadlift single, and then 120 bench, I believe, which is just insane.
Man.
I'd be happy with
Yeah.
that bench. I won't lie to you.
So going back,
They're getting close to India actually at this rate.
They are. And the thing is, Tasmin will actually hold on to her deadlift as well. Her third one. I'll be sure to tell her, use your own chalk and make sure you get electrolytes.
I think Annie squatted at 190 because she moved to the Jordans.
Oh.
You shut up, Durance.
She's wearing Jordans now. That's why she's got at 190. So I'm expecting 200 in Malta.
Yeah,
The
but
Jordans
Tony
are
Cliffe
like,
uses the Nike bowling special. And he's not talking about the shoes.
So, Tony, TC, this is a question to you, right? Because I know you've been around, as Indy said, like 5 decades ago. So, when you see like the women on that 69 weight class as a new class, right? What's your almost like your views about it in terms of like it's a new class, and then we have got these strong 2 women in the UK that are just unbelievable. Because in the past, of course, probably when you were in powerlifting, some of the weight classes were being introduced. Have you seen a wave of strong lift in the weight class like you see now?
Well, because I'm that old, the weight classes changed, didn't they? Like from the original set to the current set. So we did go through like a phase of where all the world records were standards for a little while. I think some of them, well, 1 or 2 of them lingered for longer than they probably should have. Certainly the men's under 120 equipped squat record lasted. that standard was there for years. And then one of the Chinese Taipei lads got it. So I've seen it a few times where there's been like a change like that, and then you do get like a heavy wave comes and hits certain weight categories. Like the 105s has just like become a thing where it never was, because obviously there's 110s and 125s, and and for some people it was just the sweet spot right at the right time. like to be at 105, because you'd just come up from like 100 kilo class and you're trying to make your way up to the top of the 110s. So some of these ladies will find themselves in that position, that they were either really struggling to cut to the one below, and just not big enough for the one above. And I think we've got a couple that have landed in that sweet spot. One of them being Leah Bavois, obviously, like she's just absolutely in the sweet spot for herself in that weight category. And I think obviously with the missing the the weight cut at Worlds, was that last year or the year before? I think it was last year.
It was last year, yeah.
Last year.
Like as a prime example of somebody who's just landed right in the right position for that weight category. It's pretty,
before we move on to the next man, but I just want to highlight one more thing about Tasmin, is just that she started from here. She started competing in her early 30s, which I would say is quite much. We started much more younger than she has, and she's climbed up through the ranks slowly but surely, and man, she's done so well. So I gotta give her a shout out for that. That there's still hope for someone like me. Yeah,
keep on hoping, brother.
Yeah, exactly. You cling to that, buddy.
You gotta cling to something, bro.
Oh my god!
You know what though? That weight change was sorely needed though. Like 63, and then the next one up is what, 76. Like that's a joke. Like that's more than a lot of the men's ones.
It was 72.
There's a big argument for a heavier women's class as well. Like because you look at the 84 pluses, and they're 120 pluses really. So like it's just ridiculous jump from under 84 to 84 plus. But they should be right in the middle.
Do you think they'll ever will? I don't see them ever doing that.
They will. Reason. Eventually they will. Who knew?
I think at some point they'll be forced to do it, because the 84s are growing. Like even here in GB, it's becoming a slight issue already. You're getting a lot of people complaining, saying it's not a fair balance.
It's that Olympicism though, isn't it? That's the thing holding us back. It's not common sense holding us back or anything like that. It's the case of we do what others do, essentially.
Yeah, keeping the eight weight class standard. Yeah,
they'd have to reset somewhere else. So they'd have to change something else and merge some of the lower weight categories to be able to do it. I think that's the only way you get around it.
Yeah. So moving on to another man now. We have Christian Ayendoken, 93s GB men's. Again, I would say almost a seasoned, definitely seasoned international lifter as well. He has done, let me see, 1, 2, 4 internationals, I believe. Lithuania a bunch of times, Poland, Sweden, and he did, an amazing job at the last European Classic that he did, which was wild, man. Like smashed the 93 GB total, like by a lot.
Because I was there, and honestly, having hit a record myself, his pull was my favorite thing in Europeans. Like out of everything I saw, like you needed to be there. The atmosphere, honestly, you could literally taste it. You could chew the atmosphere. There was so much like hype, especially from the GB team. And I think we spoke about this before as well. The last Europeans really, not this one gone, the one before that, really changed the dynamic within the GB team. Like it just seems to be a lot more close-knit. And I think Tony said that on King of the Lifts as well. Like there's been a shift in the terms of the way GB behaves with one another. And like lifters behave with one another. We don't have these Americanisms here, luckily. But that pull was insane. Like there was just so much noise I couldn't hear myself think. I was thinking to myself, I shouldn't have even been here, because like my adrenaline was through the roof as well, because it makes you think of your own lifting and stuff like that as well, weirdly enough. Like it's very hard to detach yourself from the lift going on. And I just wanted to go down there and bloody throw Christian around and throw him in the air and celebrate him. Do you know what I mean? It was just one of those things.
Those pull, I think I even said this to Christian after he pulled it. I said, if that pull was at the British or anywhere else in Britain, he wouldn't get that pull. He wouldn't. He didn't have 360 in him.
Do you think?
What? He didn't have 360 in him. He had about 352, 355. He didn't have, even when Dan put it, Jake put a 360, no one was expecting, even himself. I was like, what the fuck, 360, So what gave him the pull again, what Indy said, is the crowd. You know, as soon as that bar load is hit, it's just not the British team, even other nations, the French, because it's almost like, oh shit, this Brits, no one thought he's gonna come and pull for the win. Because when he pulled it, he was first. We were just expecting for Sasha to miss. Hopefully, Sasha touched himself, but Sasha didn't touch himself, unfortunately. So apart from that, Christian would have won that. So it was the crowd. The crowd was there. So yeah. Again, as you said about Christian there, I mean, being in '93, what Christian did at the Euros is just unbelievable. Coming from our British record was like 8-11? Was like 8-11 from 8-11.
Yeah, 8-11 by James.
Yeah.
That's such a massive pull.
To 8-42 and a half. It's just unbelievable. And again, as I always say, and I'll keep on saying that, a healthy Christian who will get places. He will go places, but anyway, probably soon to be 105. That's your problem, Mark. No one else's problem.
Everyone's welcome, bro.
You know what? That's a fair point. That's a fair point because before we move on, I just want to say one of my favorite things about Christian is that, you know, as well as, you know, dominating the 93, he has dominated two other lifters in this podcast as well. You know, Espen,
yeah, I can say that. I got slapped.
Espen has, Durance has in the Espen has in 74s, Durance has in 83s, 93s. You know, he's just murdered, and
he's collecting them stones.
Yeah, them infinity stones.
No, that's my meme. That is. Don't take credit for my fucking meme, right? Espen's next on the agenda.
Oh fuck.
Yes. Yes. But yeah. So Mo's next, obviously.
So the 93s at Sheffield was crazy, right? Like they're going nuts. And I just think, do you reckon Christian can get amongst those guys? Keiko, Krastev, Headland, Aiden.
For me, a healthy Christian is a scary prospect.
It's his squat that's the problem, because he's had this terrible hip issue where if you look at his squat at 290, 295 relatively easy, but it just seems like he struggles to actually peak it. So if he could get to 310, 315, that's a different Christian, especially with the 364 or 200 kg bench. But it's a hard task for him to get there. Like Keiko, Gavin, they all seem to be also pushing. They're not waiting at 880. They're looking to push to 900. So you never know, really.
I'm really saying, this is probably a very strong statement, but I think at this year European, if healthy Christian will get a wild card, if SPD will offer it for the 93, he will get a wild card. What I'm saying, he would get a wild card. I'm looking about 870, 880.
But are you talking about Europeans or worlds?
I don't see there being more than 2 lifters in every weight class. For like Sheffield.
We how many 93 we had?
Oh no, but this year was a weird one. Next year, because realistically speaking, there'll be a fifth. There won't be a 59. There'll be a 66, a 74.
Wow. So you say Ishak is not going to make it?
Ishak is like Ishak would do well, but you're going up against what's his name again? His world record, which is like 675. No, the Russian dude.
Oh, yeah, but
you mean is it what?
Sergey. And you need 632 to meet 95%.
95% of that.
Joey hasn't even hit 666. So
that's wild. That is wild. Let's move on, Joey. That's wild.
Take it away. Go on, Joey.
Next up on the list we have none other than Sophia Ellis. You know what? I'll tell you what, Durance, you'll make this be happy about this. She's also a Commonwealth champion.
The other one.
Guys,
and her Commonwealth win was actually like closer to present day than yours, but she talks less about it. So.
But Sophia Ellis, also a very seasoned international over here. Well known for her bench and really good deadlift. Up there with one of the biggest pulls in female GB lifting. But
see, she just doubled 235.
Yep.
235. Yeah, it was massive.
That's mad. And to be honest, when it comes talking about Sophia, when You see, when the bench rule was released,
Yeah.
the first person I thought was gonna get hit hard, it'll be Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. But then again, the more you see she benches, the more she probably go through the rules. And we saw that at the British, it did not affect her at all. Because I know a lot of people be saying like, "Oh yeah, Sophia gonna get hit hard." But at the British, we didn't have
She's got
Robert
length of
Bermudez.
arms, the same length as mine. That's why
Yeah,
she's
she's got long arms.
You know, she got long arms. And again, as I said, at the British, we didn't have Robert Bermudez as a referee. We had good referees. So she went through that. She went voila.
That helps.
Do you know what I mean? So that did help. So yeah, the confidence is built for World. So yeah, I expect her to do really, really well. World. I think she's nominated. Is it 5th or 4th now?
5th.
I think the 5th.
Yeah.
And after Malta, and I don't see why not. She could probably get 4th or even fight for 3rd spot. But all depending on Agatha actually getting her bench.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kimberly's there as well. Remember Walford? She's nominated.
Yeah.
Some strong lifters in that weight cap.
Yeah. It's mad.
Massive.
And the other lady as well from America, what's her name? Dana McNeil.
Mm.
Yeah,
She's there as
she's
well.
talking
So
big. I listened to
easy.
her. I listened to her podcast, and she was talking big as to what she expects to do at Malta.
So that 76 class will be like a new 93s or something like that, like last year. It's gonna be mad.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. 76 with Carlina, man, Jesus. Yeah, moving on to the next men's. We have the 105s with none other than our very own Mo, Abdulmajeed Suleiman, and Ben Pape. But you know what? Since we have Mo here, yo, let's celebrate you, bro. You know, you've just come back from Sheffield, and you did your best.
I knew you were gonna say something.
I haven't said anything, bro. I'm trying to put a positive spin.
I mean, that sounded savage to me.
Let us this, Rab. Before we go tomorrow, because this is the first time we had TC on the podcast. TC, right? You were there in front of me at Sheffield.
Bro, he was there 4 rows away from Mo's spit.
Mo, attempt. All the attempt that Mo took. What are your view about it?
Yeah, they were excellent choices. Well done, Mo.
Be honest.
I'm surprised he said that with a straight face.
I mean, the squat was probably a bit ambitious. The last deadlift was just absolutely, it was just a punt at $5,000. Don't blame me for having to go at it.
We said to Mo.
I fell asleep during the benches, so I don't really know.
We said to Mo, like, hold something back on your squat and then just go for that 5K. Mo was like, okay, I got you, full send. We were like, there's Mo.
Oh, it does.
You did full send everything, bro. Like, literally everything.
Oh, man,
I understand, though. I understand. You got to, like, first Sheffield, you got to try and make that statement and, like...
Yeah.
It's different.
I sat next to him in the audience at the British the week before. Obviously, we're supposed to be listening to the British. He said, "Well, what's the plan for Sheffield, Mo? Just gonna go for it." He went, "Yeah." I was like, "All right." I mean, he did what he said he was going to do.
This is Mo mentality, though, because I spoke to some of the handlers who've handled Mo at international competitions, and they're like, we go up to Mo and we're like, "Bro, what do you want to load?" He's like, "Anything. Load anything." He's like, what do you think you've got in you? Anything. Absolutely anything. He's like, Mo, fucking hell. Give him a number, bro.
Oh, it is. Yeah. We're learning.
Yeah. I mean, at the back
again,
of that...
talking about the 105s, right, Joey? Sorry, but to look at Ben and Mo and the rest of the crew, because 105 in the UK is Ben and Mo show. The rest is just like numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But when you when you look at that, I mean, me saying that is actually encouraging other people to keep on working hard and get in the conversation. I'm not going to put you in a conversation with Mo and Ben if you haven't got close to them. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that. Your bench, your deadlifts, your squat is not going to get you anywhere. Just get close to them. So what I'm saying is, when you look at the time of Steve Manuel was one of to me, apart from the Boardman here, Steve Manuel probably was one of the best lifter we ever had in the UK.
His total is still relevant.
Yeah, but
that's how wild it is.
Yeah, it's still relevant to now. So when you think about Steve was the only one we had as a 105, right?
Mhm.
But now Ben has come and smashed that. And Mo is doing what he's doing. You know, the man could be on 915 or 920, but he just dropped the ball. But anyway, so my point is that's how far our 105 have come. So they've come from just being Steve Manuel being that shadow and literally everyone being on his shadow. But now they're coming in and they're actually being the. Now, when we're talking about the 105 in the world, you have to mention Mo, you have to, and you have to mention Ben.
Ben's looking
scary. Even though Ben is looking scary, and probably this is probably the first time ever I could probably see him say Ben can beat Mo. Because who knows, Mo, if Mo touches himself in his last deadlift, Ben will beat him.
Back yourself, bro. Back yourself.
All right,
bro.
so let me explain this touching story that Julius keeps mentioning, right?
Why are you touching yourself?
So people don't get confused. I've had juniors come in my DM saying some wild things.
Stop speaking to juniors, Mo.
That's twice now, you know.
Yeah, look out here talking to
That's
juniors.
twice.
We can't talk about you touching yourself and then you start talking about juniors, all right?
Yeah, go on, Mo.
Okay, so it was at Euros. I went for my last pool, but before we went for the last pool, I had my chalk I used for training. I didn't bring it to the competition venue. So we had a chalk ball we're using for warm-ups and first and second attempt. When it came to third attempt, we couldn't find any chalk. So we were there before my attempt went up. We were going looking for something to use. We saw this random block on the floor, figured it was chalk, used it, but obviously wasn't as grippy as you would expect. And also I had baby powder on my legs. So while we were chalking my hands, after my deadlift, I noticed I had a decent amount of baby powder missing from my right thigh. The deadlift slipped from my right hand and it slipped from my pinky rather than my actual hook grip itself. So it was almost like the bar opened this hand and then everything else followed afterwards. Hence, I said I lost the last deadlift on grip due to baby powder.
No, baby powder, you touched yourself.
No, listen, I gotta back Mo here, right? I feel for Mo because, like, obviously it was his first competition, so he didn't know he had to bring chalk. And then, having been his first competition, he was like, "This random white thing on the floor, I'm just gonna rub that on my hands." And then, obviously, having only his first competition, he decided to fucking touch his legs like this before going out to pull his fucking hook grip. And then, being the professional hook gripper that he is, he held it with his pinky. I'm like, bro. So when did you leave your chalk in the hotel?
I did. It was inside a Tesco bag and I missed it. It was literally just on the chair.
It wasn't.
Why didn't you just say? Why didn't you?
I had two Tesco bags, so so I didn't grab the second one.
You know, before we move to
actually, we still need to go.
Listen,
the 105s is rammed. Literally, honestly,
It's
I can't
insane.
turn around to you and say this person is going to run away with this. It takes one, because they're all making big jumps. It takes one mistake. One missed deadlift can take you from first to fifth. Like, genuinely, it is. I've never seen a weight class like this. Like 928 Norling, 915 Mohammed from Libya, 912 is Davis, Anatoly's at 905, Mo's at 900. Like, the top 8 is ridiculous. It's one pull from 8th to 1st with the jumps, because they're like people doing 30 kg jumps on their deadlifts. Like, that's also a lot to lose as well. And Mo's training's looking good, even though he's hiding it. And Ben's training, because I was there with him. I don't want to say what his squat was. If he didn't post it, it's not for me to say what his squat was. But that heavy deadlift was after a heavy session, and he still managed to get 800 pounds for a PB. He's looking fucking filthy.
Yeah,
that's really good. That's really good, because again, right, in the world IPF, every time they talk about the battle of 105, again, as I mentioned, we had Steve Manuel. When Steve Manuel decided to go and do bodybuilding to become like Espin, a skinny prick, we never had any 105 anymore. The name go away from us, but now we have the 105 back into the battle, which is exciting. So yeah.
Norling said he never misses his third, right? He's always said he never in doubt third deadlift, and he missed, and he looks, I'm not saying he's obviously not weak, he's one of the strongest lifters ever, but it looks like someone, if he makes that mistake at Worlds, someone will take it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, at Sheffield he looks really vulnerable. You know, but at the same time, I'm not here to talk about his life because me and him talk pretty much on the DMs and that. There's a reason why he looked that vulnerable at Sheffield. So let's not just sit there thinking that's what might happen in Malta.
No. I'm not saying that will, but like if you're injured, for example, or there's external factors affecting you, they might affect you in the future as well. Like you just don't know. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it won't.
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah,
that top 8 is ridiculous.
I don't want to be a 105. So
mate, no one wants to be a 105 at the moment.
And you know, before we move on, just one more comment about Mo. You know, all fair play to him. He did make someone in this podcast vacate the 105s and move up to the 120s. So, well done, Mo. Respect you highly for that. Moving on.
We're not moving on.
So, serious? You just signed your life there, bro.
You literally signed your death.
Hey, Joey.
I was gonna say, but I didn't want to die, so I just left it.
You man are all shook. All you man are shook.
Have you not had enough
Mo,
bad
you're
experiences?
Shook. Yes, I've had the worst. This has been the worst 3 months of my life since I've befriended you.
I'll tell you what,
even all those 7 years of you not hitting 600.
Yeah. It's worse than that. It's worse than that.
You know?
What's worse than that is someone turning up to the squad session uninvited and then using all the calibrated plates, wearing a singlet, getting in the way. I wonder who that is.
Yeah, I wonder. Anyways, moving on to the 84 women's British.
The only squad session Joey's ever gonna go to.
Hey, Joey, did you actually wear a full singlet?
He wore a singlet, bro. He wore a singlet. He came down. He did a full SBD session.
I did not do an SBD session. Thank you very much.
He did only bench.
Oh, he just took that long to do bench. That's fine.
Anyways,
carry on.
Shout out Bandito.
Hey, you know what? Continue, man. Who?
Let's move on to the 84.
Yeah, 84 women's. We have Ziana and Temi.
Yes,
man, these two ladies.
Temi's looking good.
Yeah.
Temi's looking very, very good. She's healthy as well. Like we haven't seen
very
healthy Temi in a very long time.
Just to throw a little spin though, before we go into them, obviously we know the juniors had just passed, and we had Erlov pop a massive 6 or 565. Was that what she put?
562.5.
562.5. So obviously Ziana and Temi kind of already know what they need to hit, realistically speaking, going into this competition. I know they'll be vying for podium, especially Ziana. She's in third, nominated third right now. But I think both ladies would definitely have that number at the back of their head and know that they want to set a precedent for Erlov when she comes into the Open too.
Yeah. I think when it comes to Ziana at the British that just went past, she could have probably hit that 560 plus. But I think that last deadlift, she asked for it. It's the first time ever. Even I spoke to her coach. He said, "Look, I had a number for her, but because she already won, this is the first time ever." She said, "Look, can you put this number on the bar for me?" So, and then again at the same time, because if the lifter as hard that always listen, do as I say, she always does that. This is the first time she's thinking, I feel good about it, put it. So again, my point of what I'm saying is, if that deadlift was drawn down by 5 kilos, she would have got it. So that would have put her to almost like same tour as Erlov. But again, at the same time, we can't take that away from what Erlov as a junior has done. 250 kilo deadlift in Britain. Never been done before.
Hey Joey, what's your deadlift?
Oh shit.
Hey, moving on quickly. Moving on.
No, he did do 250.
It's gonna be a free for all.
He attempted it.
He
attempted 250.
Who?
What happened?
Joey attempted 250 at least.
What happened with it?
When did you attempt the 250? When?
He did a mo and it slipped out of his hand.
Mate, I told you.
No. It wasn't.
Hey,
he didn't do that. Our deadlifts were completely different.
Hey,
bro.
listen,
Joey's
Mo,
was...
don't have it, bro. Mo, do not have it. A guy is sending for you who books flights at the exact same time, coincidentally, when Nationals was happening. So, boy, don't have it, bro.
Bye, baby.
But the 84. Going back to the 84, they look really strong, and we have got 4th and 5th nomination for IPF Malta. It's exciting to get. By the way,
third and fourth.
Yeah, is it 3rd and 4th?
Third and fourth.
Third and fourth. Yeah.
that's amazing. Even that's even better. I didn't even check my data. But yeah, again, at the same time, it's amazing to see Britain how far we've come. Because again, Tony Cliffe will tell you, over the years, we were never a powerlifting nation in terms of if you're talking about the Ukrainians, Russians, Americans, and now French with the low bar, whatever, and then you get now the Italians are coming, the Spanish, but Britain, we're getting in there, especially in those big weight classes like the 84s. So yeah, it will be exciting to see them too. But the funny thing is that although they will go there, potentially Diana to place, and Tim is looking so good, at the same time, in their head, they will have like a one-on-one rematch as well. Because they're fourth and third. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's move on. We have none other than the 120s. It's the Sir Tony Cliffe and Indiraj. We're saying, lads, how you lot reviewing yourselves? You know what, Tony? What do you think of Indy's training so far? Be honest.
Well, I've not seen any of his benching, but
no one needs to see
squatting and deadlift looks going well.
People go onto Instagram to see good lifts, not shit. So I'm just gonna give the people what they want. There's no point posting about it because
I'm gonna get you one of them vests like Rondell has, or you could just post some some press ups or something. I don't know.
Oh, I'll show you. Can I post the accessories instead?
Yeah.
No one else does, so I might as well start doing it.
I know, man. Mate, yeah.
No, I'm just smart with it. I'm just think about it, right? I'm thinking if my final bench is out the way first, I have longer to warm up on the deadlift. I've got it dialed in, boy. It's a genius plan. Genius plan.
Yeah, look, I think he'll squat over 350. He'll pull over 390. Bench 180.
Everything's fine, right? I told you it's all in hand. To be fair, shut up.
But the thing again, right? The 120 class at Malta, that's the Tony Cliffe show. The rest this is basically is the same thing I said at the British for the 83 this year for me, right? Malta in 2023, Tony was gonna win it. The rest come for your participation medals or whatever certificate or whatever. Go for that and get your wildlife media package and fight for that second spot. But the way that I'm looking at the nomination as well, Indy got that on the lock, unless
not even
that
close
bench,
though.
Unless that bench of Indy drops to 140 or 150. So yeah.
My bench is actually 220. I've just been holding it back for this one moment. A British, honestly, genuinely, a British. I was genuinely capable of pulling 240, but like I left my chalk at home. And then... I'm joking, bro. I'm joking.
Man. You know what? While we have him here, Tony Cliffe, man, super seasoned. I've got
a very interesting fact. I don't know, Tony, do you remember the last time you came nothing other than first at a British competition?
2009, 10, can't remember.
Jesus,
I
think
14 years ago.
I was gonna say, because Ben Banks, the CEO of SPD, was actually the last person to actually beat Tony in the competition. That was 2010, which is insane. 13 years of domination.
He pulled a 335 deadlift and beat me, and I dropped 312 and a half. I did a Mo. It's 14 years ago.
Oh my days.
As if you brought that up.
I love that.
Yeah, but back then you didn't even have like rock lifting chalk. He used to, the chalk he had on a whiteboard. Just Tony rubbing that on his hand in Portsmouth.
That's what Mo used.
That's what Mo used.
Just found one randomly on the floor.
Mo just got a rubber, just a random rubber, just rubbing it on his hand.
But yeah, Tony, man, tell us, bro, how's the prep been going?
Not bad. A bench is good, deadlift's good, squat's been hit and miss depending on how my knees feel on that day. But I'm still hitting the numbers that I was expecting to hit. It's just like the accessory day and the extra day that I do some additional squats. I've just had to either not do it at all or adapt it completely. just getting old, man. That's what happens.
But you know,
just work around it.
You know, training aside, because you know we're celebrating all the GB lifters up in this episode. Is there anything that you would say is going to be different this coming Worlds 2023 in Malta? That's going to be different from all the other Worlds.
I think when I've looked at GB teams, we've always had like one or two that have got a potential of making the podium. One, and I mean like one or two. It's either been like me and Owen, or me and Screamer, or you know, and the ladies' side is Joy and Sophia, pretty much no one else. And now you look at it, and at almost every weight category we've got a lifter nominated in, they got a chance of making the podium, if not winning the whole thing. They got a good shout at being in the mix. We just haven't had that before. So this is, you know, it's a really exciting Worlds to go to be a part of, and not just rocking up for your own competition. Actually turning up thinking, oh, I'd quite like to watch that class. I'd quite like to watch that. Like, I've not had that for a while. And obviously it being sort of the biggest Worlds I think we've ever seen as well. And to be in a position where we've actually got, you know, people competing for medals in almost every weight category as well. Yes, it's very different. It is motivating as well to be part of a team that's actually going there and actually going to make a statement. Whereas before I've been sort of kind of the lone ranger in sort of teams.
What's the bench record for the 120s, Tony?
253.
Yeah.
Within reach? What do you think?
Yeah, it's not far away. Whether I bother going for it or not, I
was going to say, because
that's
you're
5
pretty
grand
much
at Sheffield.
Yeah. Are you going to be looking to break any bench records or total records? Actually,
no. So
he needs to do neither.
yeah. There's no need to. If I'm just trying to build a total, that's what I'll do. The plan is to do a Durins at the British. You know, go 9 for 9 and make the total. That's it. Like, don't worry about any other external factors. I mean, think about, like, you know, the European squat record's 345, but I'm like, but if it's not there, it's not there. I'm not going to go for that. Just
is that the 120 European record?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, less than the British record now.
Indy's licking his lips.
Nah, it's weird to me that like the British records are so much further than the European records in the 120s is wild to me.
Yeah, it must be nice. Well, you know, one last question for Tony, actually, while we have him here. Would you say that whole having you know, lifters nominated and contending to be in podium, would you say that's made up for having more cohesiveness within the team? Because, you know, Durance has been, you know, doing internationals 2018 as a witness to it, or not as a participant. It didn't feel too cohesive, but along the years it progressively has. And would you say the element of contending as to the podium added to that?
Yeah, but we've got to make an effort to come together as a team, though, as well. And I know you spoke a little bit about that. You know, the French squad getting together and doing like a full day together and all of that. We've never done any of that in British powerlifting, and I think if we'd have made more of an effort to make that a thing, we'd have probably had more contenders quicker than we have. Because that galvanizes teams and it improves performance, because people feel like they're a part of the team and they're going to put the effort in, they're going to work for the team, not just themselves, which sometimes that can wane. And I think we just need to make more of an effort to do that. And I think that, you know, coming together at Gymshark, I know we spoke about it wasn't perfect, but the fact that we're all able to get together and just you know, just be around each other for a bit makes a difference.
Definitely.
And if you're doing that more often, I think that's going to add value. So let's do that. Even if it's not officially organised or anything else, or we're relying on, you know, team coaches to do things. You know, we're all capable of doing these things ourselves. We could have just done it.
Definitely. I mean, on that note, see, Indy, even though some people were uninvited, I still contributed.
You contributed by taking plates away from lifters?
Now, to be fair, the Dream was only benching around 130, so it was only 4 reds, so it wasn't an awful lot of plates.
Yeah, but still, come on. There was only 10 reds to begin with. I mean, until I organised some more, we all would have been It's just Anyway, I heard Joey was putting his name down for Gymshark.
I would also just like to say, Joey, I've defended you on this podcast, so just remember that.
Yeah.
He defended you by kicking you in the nuts.
I haven't said one bad thing. I haven't said one bad thing about Mo this entire episode so far, unless he switches up his mind again. But you know what? Back to the the GB lifters. Last but not least, we finally have a 120 plus going. None other than Aaron Thompson, because someone's finally hit that criteria in 120 plus men's. Man, he's been cracking at this for a good while, and congratulations to him. He's finally done it. I think not since Luke Richardson, I believe, in the 120 plus.
I think we had a world, yes.
Worlds.
But at the European, we had AJ.
AJ, yeah, but I'm talking about worlds.
Oh, but we had Waze 2021.
Oh yes, yeah, of course. Sorry, yeah. So it's been 2 years since. But yeah, no, congratulations to him. Met him at we all met him actually at the squads. Lovely guy. All the best to him.
Super strong as well. And do you see what he was squatting in? His knee sleeves.
I was gonna
his say knee sleeves looked how Duran's knees sound.
What have I done to you?
Bro, you put some music on, if not for yourself, for the rest of us. You can hear that snap, crackle, and pop shit on every single fucking video.
Oh my god!
Get to my. Do
you remember? You know when you were a kid and you had those like maraca things that like hit each other like this? That's what his fucking sounds.
Mate, you don't need to describe it to me. I know that's exactly.
Thank you.
You at least give us some music to listen to.
You get
good music.
You get to my age. Get to my age. Come and let's.
How old are you?
I'm 35 this year.
Bro, that's not even that much older than me.
Tony's 39. I didn't actually realize.
I'm 4 years older than you, bro.
4 years?
Yeah.
How old are you, Indy?
32.
Oh.
Yeah, your maths is off.
I thought you were 31. But you're still young, though.
You work, you're the weirdest guy. You work with numbers for a living. You can't read your own fucking program. Right?
You can't
minus 32 from 35.
Bro, I thought you were 31, bro.
No.
By the way, Tony, next year you'll be 40. Are you going to do masters or you just?
No, he's not. Did you not listen to his podcast?
No, not
what kind of a friend are you? What kind of friend?
I have no finish yet.
What's the point, Tony, going to masters when he's still kicking the shit out of the seniors?
Out of you.
Indy, that's twice, Indy.
No, whoa. No, even he knows this.
Listen, you can't even win the fucking sub-juniors. You go to the women's weight cut and come fucking third. So let's not talk about you, the tiny total. When you hit 600, right, you're allowed to speak. We need a separate room for you.
Let me just ask this, Joey. In 2021, what flight did they put you in?
What do you mean?
For 2021? No, 2021 British. Were you on the A flight, the first flight?
There were only like 4 2066.
In 2021, there was 266.
Yeah.
No,
didn't they put you with the women?
Oh my god, yeah. He was.
Oh, goodness.
Anyways, moving on. Mo, you had a topic for us.
They were doing everyone's rack height. So he gave you squat one. They're like, I think you got it confused with his bench. That's why he lives penthouse now. So it's the first time he actually looks down on people.
Leave me and my living conditions alone.
Joey, these topics, bro.
Going back, what happened in 2016, Joey?
I already said it, man. Leave.
You actually didn't say what happened. What actually happened to you?
By the way, hold on.
Yeah, you didn't tell us what happened. Duran's told us his excuses. What was yours?
It was depth issues.
Depth issues. How do you have depth issues when you start at the bottom?
That's what.
Oh, Tony, I don't know what you got invited in for, but I'm so sorry.
Hey, Tony's having the best time of his life, man. Don't apologize. He's loving this.
Hold on, but Tony, let me bring you back to you did Equipped in Saudi Arabia, right?
Yeah, UAE.
What was it 2019?
Yeah, same year I won.
mate, what happened? I waited here the whole night for you to bomb out.
Yeah, it was an interesting competition.
So,
Look
so
at Jordan.
I went
what
1 for
was it?
9.
Exactly. And then he kept on coming out after bombing out on the squat. I'm thinking, this man's brave.
It's a long way to go to not bother, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Indy.
So-
Yeah.
What was the experience, Tony Cliff? What happened actually though on the competition? Because until now I never actually asked you because it's unlike to see you like that.
Yeah. Well, I just gambled with some really, really tight equipment. And I figured I'd already won Worlds that year. I'm just going to gamble. And I did. And it backfired massively. But I figured if there's any year to just go for it and not give a shit, it was the year I'd already won Worlds. So I was like, I'm just going to go for it. I don't care. I'm just going to stick it on and see what happens.
And at least you kept coming out, giving other people the rest as well and things like that. Like, it just shows it's like the thing to do as a lifter, unlike Durins, who gets disqualified and then just calls it a day and goes home.
Well, no. I didn't call it a day.
You did? What are you on about? Joey, right, even though he was disqualified, he came out for his benches and his deadlifts. See, I'm back in your case here. Whereas Durins did a panner and just disappeared.
Because I got that French in me, innit?
You said French and Mo changed his squat again.
Well, what's the second topic? We might run out of time, bro. Let's go for the
what's the topic, bro?
The second topic, nice and quick. I had a junior lifter message me.
Again,
just asking.
It's just going fate, isn't it?
Oh my days!
Is that why you're best friends with Ishtiaq?
Just say lifter, bro.
Is your DBS checked, bro?
Calm down.
Is that why you struggle to get to Poland on time? He's late booking his flights because they were doing background checks.
I'm tired.
Tony, as head of the athletes commission, mate, I'd like to put in a complaint.
Oh my days!
Oh my days!
So
I
left a message me, and what they were asking is, since we have this is probably one of the best questions to ask Tony. His question, word for word, was: could I ask you 3 things you do regarding your training, and the philosophy behind it that you think are the most important to your success so far? So, just basically 3 things that you've done over the last 3 years that you kind of believe has made you who you are, and what's your mentality behind training, and how do you approach training on off days and days you're happy and things like that.
Can I start?
Do Tony first.
Tony.
No, let's go for Tony.
I got to start.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Keep it simple so you can track it, right? So I know you see lots of people changing things. I don't want to say this to you, Mo. You see lots of people changing things in their training all the time, and they don't give the thing that they've committed to time enough to embed and make a difference. I think that's one of the key things to my success has been that I am able to just stick to the program, just stay with it, because I've seen it work before. Eventually, even though you don't feel like it's really having the impact that you'd expect straight away, stick with it and it does come around. I guess that would be number 1. How many am I supposed to give?
3.
Up to 3. It doesn't need to
be
3.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be 3, to be honest with you. Like, whatever
the main
comes to mind.
I think it's simple and consistency are the things that I would go with. And effort as well. The other thing is that I see a lot of people that they get a program, they think if they follow the program, they're going to get strong. If they follow the program and they're not really trying that hard week in, week out, and then they're surprised when they don't get strong, it baffles me. I just think if you can commit to it and you work hard and you feel like you're working hard, you will get better. And I think you had a lot of conversation in a previous podcast about coaching and people coming in and getting a coach from day one of their training. And I think yes and no would be my answer to that. It says, do you really need a coach? Do you buy any cookie program when you first start out and get stronger? And you will get stronger because just training. And if you just have a bit of consistency, commit to the program, stick with it, you will get better. You don't really have to do a great deal. So it's not a great deal to talk to your coach about, but then if you're really buggering up something from a technical perspective, but if you keep it simple, you won't do that anyway. So yeah, I think that they're my three then, I guess, would be consistency, simplicity, and effort. You do that.
No, you didn't say anywhere. You didn't say drinking beer, bro.
No, I didn't. No, I don't recommend it to anyone else.
Tony, do you coach yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask.
That's one thing I've always wanted to know.
Have you self-coached from the beginning?
No. So my dad was a powerlifter. So I trained when I first started powerlifting. I started training with powerlifters. Well, I first started training with powerlifters when I wasn't powerlifting. So they sort of showed me what they did in their programming when they started out, and this is before the internet and anything they sort of existed. This is talking to people in the gym, talking to the powerlifters. So Dave Turner used to be the finance director for British Powerlifting. He was one of the first people I ever spoke to about training, because he trained at Hobby Centre where my dad used to train, and that's how I got a lot of knowledge from as well, along with my dad, like from his training.
So you're a legacy powerlifter to even talk about it.
Yeah. From that perspective, where people actually turned up to the gym, and my dad carried around like a book in his bag with a pen, literally, writing down this is the program for this week, and this is what we're going to do, and then sort of helped me with my training and showed me how to build it up for what I was doing at the time was judo. I wasn't training for powerlifting, so I was doing a lot of bodybuilding stuff. Mo, you'd have loved it.
No, I've seen Mo's accessories. He wouldn't have. The only thing Mo has in his backpack is a protractor, so he can change his angles on his squat.
So
he's got one of them, the workers' levels. He's like 70. Good to go.
Oh God, TC, since you said that your dad was a powerlifter, and now you are who you are, the entire world and planet know you in the powerlifting world. Would you say genetics plays a major role into your success and longevity?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah.
What if there were 6 out of 10?
Yeah, 6 out of 10 genetics. Maybe not. Yeah, I think I've definitely inherited his knees. That's what retired him.
Hey, Mo, did you have 2 questions, Mo, or was it just the one?
Do the one first. Do the one first.
It was just that one. Yeah,
Jordan
I guess
really
everyone
wanted
else
to speak.
Yeah, Jordan's wanted to give his point. Go on, Jordan.
Because Jordan's gave his whole speech not too long ago on Instagram about him and Samson and 1,000 men.
Yeah, the thing is,
that was about him training on one banana again, wasn't it?
And 500.
Someone said
500
Jordan's in
milliliters of
1,000
water.
men, and then Tony said banana, so I'm very confused. What do you do with 1,000 men and a banana?
Indy, you have such the dirtiest man on the planet, bro. I swear. Anyway, with me, the question more asked is like it's again pretty much Tony Cliffe covered some of them. It's about believing in the process. So I started this sport in 2016. I wasn't a young man. I was like 28 or something like that. So it means I was old when I started the sport. So all I've done over the years is just believing every program that Joey writes. Don't get me wrong, is I've had, for instance, myself, I've had offers pretty much across the powerlifting community in terms of coaching. Oh yeah, if you go to this person, or can I coach you for free? But I stuck to him because whatever he does for me, whether people have got an opinion, it works for me. So I trusted that, and I still trust the process. That's number one to me. And the second thing is, again, I think I said this week, is all about my mindset. Right, my mind is always about. I was raised really military in ways like if you stuck and you're told to do something or you're focused on something until I achieve it, then I move to the next step. So it's all about being that tunnel vision. I knew the thing is, with me, it was not about how good I would get in powerlifting, but I knew where I want to get to powerlifting, and I knew I would get there. Again, as I said, whether it's going to take me a year, 2, 10, or whatever, I knew I'm going to. Even when I'm going to be a master, I knew one day, even I'm a master, I will be one of the best E43 in the world. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take me. That's why I've always been, and that's why you see some of my training or even my competition has always been progress. The progress we seek for is not every single comp. I think I said this in King of the Lift. Me and Joey, we don't look at my performance from like comp after comp. It's always been British to British. Right, everything in the middle is just accessories to us in terms of like when you look at the World Championship, when you look at now we have with the Arnolds or the Europeans, we don't count my performance at these big comps as how strong I am. No, we count how strong I am from 2022 British to 2023 British. How much have you added? And then we sit down and think, okay, you've added 40 kilos. That means you're 40 kilos stronger. So it doesn't matter what the other comes in the middle of the year, I could probably, again, jokes aside, I could total less at the British and I total 50 kilo more world. But we're not going to count my strength about what I total that 50 kilo world. We just want to see what's next British going to give us. So that's how we always been over the years. And we've been doing that for 7 years now, and it's working perfectly for me. So to me, that's always been patience, being dedicated in what I do and trusting the process, and also knowing when to slow down, because some people thinking, oh yeah, I'm just going to hammer this volume. I'm just going to know. Sometime I walk to my garage, I call Joe, I said, Joey, today I'm fucked. You'll be like, okay, don't do this, don't do that. Let's adapt. Being able to adapt to the situation and the circumstance, especially all of us now, we have got external circumstances now. So being able to adapt to that, that's what kept me this long, and then probably avoid a lot of the injuries.
Because that sounds very similar to what Tony also mentioned on the KLTO podcast, where you said there was a period where you really train about 2 times a week, and like sometimes you take a week in between your squat, like 2 squat days, because you feel beat up and you know there's no point putting extra work when you're already beat up. It's like you need to maintain your body long term.
Yep.
Yeah.
Survival is a lot of it as well. You know, you can't get stronger if you can't keep training, right? And if you feel like you're going to take that session and it's just going to make you go backwards, then it's probably not adding any value, right? And being able to make that decision's
of course,
tricky one. Yeah.
Shall I go next?
Yeah, go on, Eddie.
Go on.
Floor is yours.
So I'll give 3 as well. For me, the first one is master the basics, as in like, instead of looking elsewhere for like magic formulas, like the things you can control them first, like your sleep, your nutrition, like 2 very simple things. Like, and obviously people have work and stuff like that, and things can get in the way. But like, I've always seen lifters, like the first thing they blame is something so far out of whack, like, oh, this was a problem, or my coach was a problem, or this was a problem, but then they've slept 2 hours and they've eaten a rice cake and a banana. Do you know, just as an example, like, you just get the basic things, like get your life right. Do you know what I mean? And it'll really help for your powerlifting. Like, because I was powerlifting when I was in the army, right? And I was having to run, I was having to march, I wasn't sleeping enough, and I wasn't eating enough, and my total was going up. Everything was horrible and wrong. And then the second I started to like sleep, eat properly, things like that, it really like boosted my training. And it's something so simple to do that doesn't take too much of your time, because they're things that you're going to do anyway. Like, if you're going to go grab some food, instead of grabbing some shit food, grab something that might help you, you know, and with a lot of protein, a lot of carbs and stuff like that. Second one for me is just focus on yourself. I've had someone in my DMs, I think on one of the questions, when I said just focus on yourself, they're like, oh, what if like rivalry really like boosts you and stuff? And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Like, if healthy rivalry is good, but if you're spending so much time focused on other people and what they're doing, what they're lifting, how they're progressing, you're obviously not giving your own training the time of day either. Like, show me a champion, like a world champion, someone who's hit comp after comp, who focuses on other people and looks at other people's training all the time. You probably won't. Like, obviously Tony's miles ahead anyway, but like, how often do you think Tony looks at my lifts and goes, fucking hell, if Indy hit a 250 bench, I'd be in trouble? Because do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense to look at someone else's lifting and be like, what's this person doing? Like, it takes up so much of your fucking own like time and effort into doing stuff like that. Just like enjoy your training and whatever the hell you're doing. And for me personally, the third one is do your accessories. Like it helps me a lot. Like, I've seen a lot of people who just do their SBD, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm not getting stronger. Like, what's going on here?" Do you know what I mean?
Funny point though, just because Tony is, I remember like you don't really do accessories, do you? You mostly squat, bench, and deadlift.
They're variations of those lifts because remember, like when I switched back into equipped lifting, then my variation becomes a raw squat. That's a variation from my equipped squatting. So I've not got like an array of accessories that I go to, apart from the occasional box squat, pause squats, things like that. But it's all around the main movements, and I haven't got any machines or anything like that. It's just me in the garage. I know, Indy, you're pretty much in the same position, but where you've got the opportunity, I know you are doing a load of other stuff. But having said that, when I first started training, I was doing tons of accessory work, loads of it. Like literally, name an accessory movement, and I did it at some point in my training. And over time, that has just sort of reduced down because the training's got so much more focused just towards the main lifts, and then having the time and the willpower to go and do like a few sets of curls or whatever. No, I'm not going to bother with any of that.
The thing is,
but accessories that count towards and actually going to help, add value. Like, why wouldn't you do those?
And even Tony like touched on it, like even your variations and stuff have some intensity with them, like especially when you're younger and stuff, and you're able to, like, don't people see their main lifts, I'm going to push these, and then they see accessories as I'll do like 6x2 like, this is so easy, and then you're not, if you're going to do an accessory for the sake of doing an accessory or a variation for the sake of doing a variation, you're probably not going to get as much benefit from them as you'd like, or as you'd want to. So the carryover is going to be less as well. Like, just have some intensity with those things as well. And I think for me, it's helped massively. Like, my deadlift was stagnant for a long time. And then I just started smashing loads of back work, loads of hamstring work, and it had a massive jump, and it's continued to just like slowly progress. And I think, like Tony said before, if you're unable to like squat heavy often, like for me, like because of my back and stuff like that, like I can't do 2 really heavy squats in the week because it will write me off. So I'll do the one heavy squat, I'll do 2 other squat sessions that aren't as heavy, or like prep for deads and stuff like that, and then I'll do loads of leg work. So it's a way of me getting in work without loading my back, and that works really well for me. So just find things that work really well for you and crack on.
Yeah, actually, Tony, because you touched on it briefly just there, because we have supposedly younger viewers because of Mo.
Wow.
He just won't let that slip, will he? Unlike his deadlift.
The equipped lifting, just to clarify for the listeners, would you say that there is a carryover into your classic lifting, or none at all?
No, it's not really. I mean, I don't think there's a direct transition. I wouldn't recommend anyone who's being a classic lifter to do equipped lifting to per se get stronger at classic lifting, but it will teach you something about lifting that you will use in your classic lifting. And there's certain mechanics and certain movement patterns that you have to do in equipment that work, that get the best out of the equipment, and having the time to focus on why that's the case and why that is really shitty for you if you're really long and lean and like you're not built for equipped lifting, because not everyone is. That you won't get the best out of the equipment, and it makes you think about what your movement patterns are, why they are the way they are, your own body shape, and what works for you, like from squat mechanics. So maybe get yourself into a squat suit. You can decide what your squat should be.
One thing I always saw with your lifts though, Tony, is like, so just as an example, when you're squatting and you're benching in particular, having to walk that fucking weight out, or having that weight above your fucking head on a bench, when you're then having to like walk out a regular squat or hold a regular bench, that must feel like fucking paperweight.
Yeah, it doesn't feel heavy, like, until you get to the point in the movement that you're at your weakest, right? So probably like quite not at the bottom of the squat, but sort of 6 inches up.
Yeah,
that's where it
point.
Suddenly it's heavy, and then like in a bench, same point. Like just off your chest, you go, oh, suddenly actually that 250 bench is heavier than if I want to wrecked it. But that's true. Like mentally, I think it can unlock if you're at a real like mental sticking point, like and some numbers can become that, right? Like a 200 kilo squat for me when I first started out training was a real mental block, trying to get over that. Stick some kit on and suddenly you're squatting 240.
I can't imagine you being like, oh my god, 200 kg squat.
Well, everyone goes through it. Well, like don't do that when you first start training in a gym. And when I first started training, they had these big rubber 20 kilo plates. No, the big, like the really thick ones. Not the thin ones I've now, the really thick ones.
Mm-hmm.
So loading up like 4 of those and it being a 180 squat looks absolutely massive. So like, seeing anyone in the gym doing that and then doing like a 140 bench looks huge because you got 3 of those massive rubbers on either side.
The Russell Orhe effect.
Yeah, that became a huge thing. And I remember vividly my first 100 kilo bench because of those plates. And that being like a huge milestone for me in training. So I'm sure people have been in some of this. Although I do look at juniors now and go, well, they're all benching like
200
150 the day they go in the gym. Like, what's going on?
I just can't imagine you as a junior. I just picture you like a newborn baby with a beard, right? Just like squat suit on, and you're just like, "Where's my rack?"
Yeah. Talking about junior, you mentioned there. These juniors are scary, right? You sit here sometimes, you see them lifting, thinking, "Mate, at your age, I was still climbing trees." Oh, yeah, no offense. How the fuck are you
climbing trees, bro?
I wasn't climbing trees at 21.
Yeah. I don't know what your childhood was, bro.
How the hell are you coming to the gym and benching 200 kilos? At 19, 18, it's just mental. It's almost like, I think my missus always say this, like, almost like in the past 15 years, it's kind of like children have been eating something that we never ate. Because some of them, 18, you look at them, they look 35.
Yeah, but imagine if you were eating more than just a banana when you were younger, you'd be there as well.
Joey, give us your 3. What's your 3?
My 3, I mean, it's gonna be pretty much the same of what you guys said. The consistency, just trusting what's there, the plan ahead. As long as it coincides. If you work with a coach, whatever your intentions are, it coincides with the plan that the coach has in mind also. And yeah, just with the sleep and food. I mean, my sleep isn't always the best, but I work with the things that I can control, which is the food. And so far, so good. I mean, even though I haven't hit that 600 yet, I mean, from when I began to where I am now, the total's still going up, hopefully.
Have a look.
Yeah, go have a look.
1.25 increments.
It
has gone up though. First comp on BP was 2016 452.5, and now it's 597.5.
Bro, that's, I don't know how many, what's that, 145 kilos?
That's a lot of weight.
Basically what Indy put in a year, almost, really.
Yeah. I mean, he had to get rubbed from a weight class first, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's no point staying in the same weight class and still not achieving anything. So you might as well go up.
I mean, out of everyone here, I mean, you're the only one that hasn't won a British. So
yeah, I know, but first ever fucking international, placed 4th. It's not bad. Never been disqualified. That's always good.
Oh, well.
I've never placed below 5th.
You'll get that one eventually.
They might get that one. I get that one eventually, but so far I've never been disqualified. I think my first ever total was more than 600 as well.
Oh, well done. well done, Indy. What do you want now?
Espin, what's your 3? Don't say steps.
Step 1 is turning up to a fucking first.
Step
true.
1, cut.
I think
Step 1, book a plane. Step 2, don't pay.
And you guys, now, in all honesty, you guys pretty much all covered it. One of the main things is nutrition. I think nutrition is key, obviously. A lot of sleep too. like what Indy said, a lot of us also like have jobs where we wake up fucking early. Little things like that we can't control, obviously, but we have to control what we can in it. But nutrition, I would say, in honesty, be more consistent. Like consistency is so key, especially nowadays. I think we've spoken about this in previous podcasts where, you know, a lot of these newbie lifters, I'm not going to say juniors because I've noticed that in our DMs, people don't like it when we say juniors. We're just going to say new lifters. So when every time there's a new lifter, you know, they get with a coach or they start this new training program, they won't stay consistent with it. And all of a sudden it's not their fault. It's the whoever designed that program, and then they jump ship and go to another coach. And it happens a lot. Instead of staying consistent, trusting the plan, trusting the program, trusting the process, that's what you pretty much need to do. And then you'll see results. You just need to be pretty much like on it and just stick with it. That's what people need to do. And that goes for everyone. That goes for all ages, even the most experienced people, like what Tony Cliffe was saying as well. Like just staying consistent, just trusting the process. You know it works. So why kind of change it? Like just stick with it. You know you're going to get results with it. And you know you're going to get stronger. And for me, this is me personally. Obviously, everyone's different. It's just enjoying it. Like, honestly, there's nothing worse than doing something where you don't enjoy it. Like, what pisses me off the most, right? I remember, I can't even mention names here because I can't do it. Like, a couple of months ago, when I used to go into the gym, there used to be people that used to go in and be like, oh, I've got squats today. I really don't want to do it. It has to be done, but I just don't want to be here. Like, honestly, I really don't want to be here. It's just like, for me personally, it's just demoralizing. It's like, oh, why don't you want to be here? Like, you're here to enjoy it, right? I get we have certain days where we, you know, you're feeling fatigued, you're tired, but for you to say like powerlifting is not really what I want to do, but I just need to get it done now. It's just the wrong mentality to have, especially going into any comp. You're just pretty much setting yourself up to fail already. So just enjoying it, enjoy the process, enjoy your training, do it with like, not do it with a smile, but you know what I mean? Just fucking enjoy it, man. Like,
but that I know we spoke about a lot about consistency. Well, I just want to make a comment. We spoke about consistency, but it does not mean to any lifter or anyone listening, it does not mean if your coach is being a dick, you just stayed because you weren't consistent. No, if your coach is a cunt, leave. Simple.
Oh, these are two different things. I'm talking about like those that follow the program, like that it's a good program, everything's good, but they're not giving 100%. They might miss a couple of days, or they're not giving it all in their accessories. It's pretty much like what all of us already spoke about. But then you have the other side of it where, you know, coaches aren't giving feedback. Coaches aren't, you know, sending out blocks late, like an hour before your training session. It's like, where's my program? I've just paid you this amount of money. Where's my feedback? There's no back and forth. There's nothing. There's no communication with that coach. If that's the case, then fucking drop that coach and go somewhere else, because there's many other coaches out there. I'm just speaking about those that are just, you know, reading the program and not sticking with it because one block they didn't see a fucking 50 kg total increase. Sorry, but yeah, that's my free anyway. I think we should move on though, because
was more than his.
Yeah.
Nah, there's nothing.
did,
I
right?
think there's nothing extra for me to add because you've had Tony, you've had Indy, you've had Durins, you've had Joey. They're still progressing towards a total he wants to hit. So everyone's giving their own.
You know what? You know, actually, you know, before we do move on, actually, I just thought of one. I know we've all spoke about consistency and, you know, trusting process and controlling the factors you can control. But the one thing that I have noticed that needs to happen more is just being. That's for you, mate. Anyways, the honestly being honest with yourself. Like if you know like this RP9 you're meant to hit is not gonna be, it's basically gonna look like RP11, then yeah, you know, just don't do it. And being honest, like with the whole like, yo, are you actually doing the shit you're meant to do, like the accessory work and everything else, like the things that build you as a lifter? Because, you know, everyone, I mean, I've been guilty of it before where I pretty much like lied to myself and thought, yeah, this is enough, when really and truly it wasn't. You know, that's what I think separates what you might want and expect from a coach, but whereas you're not reaching the expectations and the agreement with the coach you have at the time. But yeah, the whole honesty thing is, I think, should be a bit more prevalent.
No, I agree. I think I want to take it back to last week's episode as well, because now we have Tony and Indy here as well, and I know Indy's been dying to fucking give his 2 cents on this one.
What?
We spoke about coaches, right? And how much would you pay for a coach? How much should people charge for powerlifting specifically, right? Durance came up with the whole, even though he said he maybe worded it
Durance
differently.
argued with himself.
Worded it differently. Yeah. Durance basically said that £50 is the maximum / minimum / average rate, all three in one.
Fuck you, bro. You prick.
That you should pay. But then as we did a little breakdown in terms of how much Joey as his coach would spend
hypothetically
on this programming.
The hours. Yeah,
and it came up to £5 an hour, basically. Not even that. I think we dropped it to £2.50. Not even a fucking Happy Meal. So my question to you guys is, right, how much realistically would you pay for a coach? And is there like an average? Is there India? What would you pay?
So
monthly?
I'll be honest with you, like a coach's rate is their coach's rates, right? Like I know some are fucking extortionate and some are low, but like for me as a coach, if you're charging X amount, you need to be able to justify why you're charging X amount. And I don't think this can be because I live here, I charge this amount, or because I think I provide this, I charge X amount. It needs to be if you're charging like whatever you're charging, that everybody should be charged that amount. You know, when people are like in people's DMs and being like special price just for you because you're a really good lifter, red flag. Like, sorry, but for me that's a red flag, right? I understand the discount for like junior lifters is in like if someone's at uni, like I know a few coaches be like if you're in university and you're studying and you're struggling with money, then your rate's this, but usually it's very clear on their websites and stuff like that. I personally wouldn't pay any more than like 120 for a coach, me personally. And if you're charging like 120, I want to know why you're charging 120. Do you know what I mean? Like what's provided with that money. But also from a lifter's point of view, I wouldn't go to a coach who's charging 200 quid and be like, charge me 100. Like, do you know what I mean? That side of like the athlete's mentality is wrong as well.
that getting
like
special preference.
Yeah, like it's just odd. Like I don't know, man. It's a difficult one because the market's so saturated now with like coaches, and there's coaches that are like had one competition, they're a coach. There's coaches that are like fucking I've been a PT in the past, therefore I can coach powerlifting. And like I know bodybuilding coaches who coach powerlifting, and I've seen their programs and they're fucking shit. But like I expect feedback, I expect like my programming to be delivered on time, I expect like things to be changed when they need to be changed. Like I don't really like receiving 4-week or like month-long blocks in advance and then no changes being made to that, because like throughout the month there's a variety of things that can happen.
Of course.
So naturally when I'm looking for a coach, or if someone's looking for a coach and they want weekly feedback, go to one that provides weekly feedback. So it's down to you as a lifter as well. And if you're not being provided with the service that you're paying for, then leave.
What you're saying, there's no such a number on coaching services. It depends on what you receive from the coach.
What you receive, and if they're providing everything, like you obviously know, when you go to a coach that they charge this amount, because you've asked them the price, and if you've agreed that price and they're providing all that service, then you don't have a leg to stand on to say, you're too expensive later on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I wouldn't pay like 250 pound a month personally, because it just financially doesn't make any sense to me. Unless they're living in my house and they're like, here's your program, how are you, let me massage your quad before you squat. Like do you know what I mean? Like we're not celebrities, it's still an amateur sport, so there's only so much I can.
Well, what would your argument be, Tony? We're gonna give you the same question, but just to Indy, because you mentioned prices already. What would your argument be for those that they're basically lifters that are pretty much making money from like money meets because they're at that level? Do you think that it would add more weight to the argument whereby a coach could charge more because said lifter is, I don't know, needs that much more attention potentially?
I think it's a weird one because, like you said, like there's some like red flags, like this lifter gets this much more attention and for the same price, or do you know what I mean? Like it's just some of it's. I don't really see it in the UK. We see it a lot in America. Like everything in America, things are like sort of blown out of proportion in terms of both sides, like coaches and lifters. Like it's really a completely different place to be. I don't really see that in the UK. Like I think it's down to the lifter. Like if you win X amount of money and you're willing to pay for your coaches thing, like decide these things in advance.
Yeah.
You know, and come to an agreement. Like you're adults at the end of the day. You should know beforehand what you're getting into, what you're going to be charging, what you're going to be paying, and things like that. If like athletes are paying their coaches, having won, that's fantastic. If they've decided they don't want to do that, that's also fine. I think it's just, it depends. Like you need to have these discussions. I know I'm fucking very much down the middle of the road here and I'm not taking a side, but I'm not going to like bash one side completely or bash the other side completely. The only side I'm going to fucking bash, like I said before, is the people just like buy this program for fucking, you know, $9.99. I've had a competition and now all of a sudden I'm a coach. There's too many fucking coaches.
Tony, let's hear it, bro.
Are we talking about just programming and regular check-ins? I would say I'd be willing to pay £160 a month, because I think I'm talking about 4 hours of doing some programming and then 4 hours of check-ins over that month. That's £20 an hour. I don't think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're then talking about game day coaching and handling at competitions, as well as, you know, as well as the programming on top, so it really depends what you're getting. If you're getting nutrition advice, if you're getting any other type of service as part of that as well, that's when you can start to justify more. But it's, you know, there again, I don't pay anything for my program at all because I do it myself.
Yeah.
So
I mean, unless you want to charging yourself 160 quid.
Well, yeah, which
then...
maybe I should use the money for something. But you know, I see the value in it. But I also see, if you're choosing a coach and you're out there looking for a coach, find a coach that will teach you how to do programming and why they're programming in a certain way. You should be developing as a lifter, but also developing how to do your own programming as part of your development as a lifter. Because if you don't understand why something's working in your programming and why you're getting better and what's not working and why that's been taken out, how are you supposed to evolve as a lifter generally in your understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it?
Yeah,
that'll be the main thing I'd be looking for.
That it makes your feedback back to your coach a bit more cohesive. So then, I guess, you know, we've spoken about it in countless pods, like that collaboration just gets much better.
Yeah, it's impossible, right? Yeah, if you're not learning.
Yeah,
I've asked people, why are you doing this? And they always turn around and be like, don't know.
Coach told me to. Yeah.
That's a weird one.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered coaching yourself, Tony? Because obviously you're probably one of the most versed and most knowledgeable lifters currently active in GB right now with your equip and classic experience and success with self-coaching.
Yeah. Just to clarify, I think Mo's asking if you're willing to coach others, not as in like yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking him like why he hasn't actually offered his services or ever thought as a side gig.
Yeah, I've dabbled in it because I've done programming coaching for fellow lifters that I've trained with over the years. So I've helped them and I've helped them write their programs and I've, you know, effectively coached them without charging just because they're friends. And then I've done a little bit like selling programs and stuff and gone, I can't commit the time to this and it's not fair to charge people for a service where I can't commit the time to it. So I just stopped. So I think I would if I had the time, but I haven't at the minute with everything else in my life and work and everything else. But it's something I am interested in doing. It's just I haven't got the time to commit to it, to be honest.
Can I
was going to say TC for head coach in the future.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm gonna pick up on that point, right? Because this is a bugbear of mine. Is as a coach, if you're taking on athletes, you need to be able to dedicate them the time. If you're unable to dedicate them the time and the effort, you shouldn't be taking people on. Like I know a lot of coaches, like they're like, this is my cutoff point. I'm not taking any more athletes. That's fine. But I also know of coaches that are literally just be like, me. Oh, I can't give this person the time. I'm just gonna recycle programs, or like that don't work, or that they've done in the past, just because they can and stuff like that. That sort of shit's like red flags for me in coaches.
But that's why you see when we mentioned in last week, that's when that price tag is not really, it's not justifiable in terms of like you don't have time for your lifters, but you still want to charge that much. And then a lot of coaches, again, I'm not throwing stone in the British coaches here because I've had a lot of DMs here, people bashing me about I'm taking things to be personal. But anyway, all I'm saying is a lot of coaches, they don't use their experience and knowledge to their charge or the fees. They just use their name because they're big coaches. Right? So the name is there as a big name. That's how much you charge. And you go there, you pay that much. You're not actually paying for the programming or the experience or the development. You're actually paying for his name.
Yeah, and the difference you want out of that person is time with them. Right? It's you need half an hour twice a week having a conversation with that person to get the value out of that at the very least, to get what you need from justifying paying the amount that you would pay in that case. And if they can't commit that time to be sharing the information and allowing you to use them as a sounding board, and that goes on the lifter as well. They've got to be willing to do that and willing to ask the questions and find out, and be curious about what they're doing and why their program's that way, and what why it needs changing and what changed. And if you're not curious, what the hell are you paying for? Like, what if you're not willing to be invested in what it is you're buying? Like, you're never going to get anything out of it anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it goes the other way as well. If you're going to just say, I'm just going to pay £300 a month for this coach and suddenly I'm going to be world champion, that ain't going to work. I'm afraid. like it's a lot more to it than that. That's and the justification of the amounts I'm talking about is because is time, and that's the most valuable thing you can get out of any coach, is just get some time in with them. Forget the programming stuff. The programming kind of write itself if you knew why they were writing it, and if you knew what they were putting down. That's the thing you've got to get out of them. So if you're paying £300 a month, make sure you're getting at least an hour, 2 hours conversation with that coach every week about what the hell they're doing and why they're doing it.
Wow.
£200 a month. That's the mortgage elsewhere,
Well, mostly in Newcastle, that was rent for like a year.
I mean, if you want to, I mean, I guess from TC's standpoint, it's sort of like if you're paying that price range, it's the individual looking at it as an investment in themselves and their own learning as well. So it's kind of like you pay in what you get out.
Yeah, because if you put a price point of, because I worked this out, if you put a price point of 200 to 300 a month, realistically speaking, let's say an average powerlifter stays in powerlifting for about 3 years, and it takes about 5 years, unless you're like a 10 out of 10 genetic freak or you've got like an amazing foundation. It takes about 5 years to get to the world level or to get to a highly competitive level. If you multiply 300 by 12 times 5 years, you're almost investing £6,000 to £10,000 plus into your powerlifting career. That's a serious amount to invest. And if a coach is willing to charge that amount, they should be very aware of the investment they're asking from the lifter. Because if you're taking on a lifter, you should be thinking long term. I want this lifter to stay with me for 5 years. If you're going to charge 10,000 for that 5 year span, you better make that person
that's
as good as they can physically get.
So, Joe,
one second. Yeah, go on.
Joe, 1 second. Mo, you just mentioned, you said, I quote, it takes 3 to 5 years for a lifter, or let's say 5 years for a lifter to be in the world-class level, unless you're a genetic freak, right? How long has it taken you to be in a conversation in the world stage?
7 years. 7 years in.
Has it taken? So that's 6 out of 9 genetics is true then. Go on, Joey. Go on.
I was gonna say that's your rationale there is looking at the lifter in mind, which to be fair, as a lifter yourself is good, but there's two sides to it all. Indy did touch on it, where like at the end of the day, the coach has to put value in himself. So if he's gonna be putting his price point with the lifter in mind, then it wouldn't be sustainable for him. So he's got to find a way to offer his services while meanwhile still looking for his own back, if that makes sense. Like, why would he undervalue himself just because he wants, you know, to benefit others, if that makes sense?
Oh, no, I'm not saying undervalue, but understand that.
Again, it's just
you're basically
like,
over a 5-year period, you're taking 10,000 from this lifter, right? Your service needs to be on par to that amount of money. Realistically speaking, 10,000 could buy your house in Newcastle deposit, right? For mortgage, 10,000 for a mortgage. That's a house, realistically speaking. So
10-bedroom.
That's a 2-bed. Let's not stretch it too far. You get a 2-bed with a garden, okay? But 10,000 in 5 years, that's a huge investment, right? So a coach, the lifter should be aware of what they're putting themselves into long term, but also the coach should take responsibility in that, thinking long term transaction wise. A lifter's come to invest in me for this potentially 3 to 5 year period. My services need to be at the top level if I'm going to be willing to charge and take this amount of money from that person long term.
But let's not forget, about the percentage, right, of coaches and PTs out there that don't necessarily care too much about the lifter or that person in general. They just care about how much they're going to be paying for a 10-week block or a 1 session, 2 sessions a week. And if that lifter isn't like giving any feedback to them, saying, "Oh, so why are we going to be doing this session today? Why are we doing lat pull downs?" If they're just going in simply for 1 hour and, "All right, cool, see you next week," that coach doesn't care. That coach is just pocketing the money. And there's a lot of them out there as well. We need to not forget that.
That's what I say for most of those. I'd say you probably don't even need a coach. Like, you just you could go online, Google powerlifting programming, do a few YouTube videos, and write your own, and you would still progress pretty well following that. So if we're talking the line of the standard at which we're expecting people to go and get a coach in terms of their lifting, you know, where they're at in their sort of career progression through lifting as well. And when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking from my mindset of like, if I wanted to go and get a coaching, is where I am at now and what I think I would need to pay and what I would expect to get back from that coach to get any value out of that service. It's probably at a level that's a bit different to where people are coming in first time looking to do a powerlifting competition and just trying to get some level of expertise as to give them some guidance as to how to prepare, what to do. That's a different conversation completely. And I don't think paying £300 a month for that would make any sense. I don't think paying £160 of that would make any sense. You know, I think there's probably a tipping point at which somebody has enough spare funds that they want to spend on a hobby as to whether or not they would tip over into going and looking for a coach in the first place. And whether or not you're taking it that seriously when you first start out, or you're just you're just getting into it. So there's levels to all of this, isn't there? Like you know what I mean? Like if there's lots of PTs out there selling their services at £150 a month for powerlifting coaching, you know, I mean, don't buy it. Like
what
you're doing.
Not even per month. I'm talking per session, per hour.
Well, see, I'm with Tony because like you're not. So it changes it, like my perspective, because like I'm with Tony in terms of that amount of money in a month. It needs to be like a you working together thing. You know, if you're just getting numbers on an Excel spreadsheet and that's all you're getting, then how much I'm willing to pay fucking obviously drastically drops, because I'm like, that could be like, you know, you could be done from anybody, you know. There's only so much you can provide service wise by just providing a program. Like people sell just these AI programs now that are bloody left, right, and center that will do that for you. Like it's that extra step of the feedback, the conversations, figuring out why you're doing things, you know, changing things on the fly, things like that are the things that for me make you a coach.
You know, Tony, I got a question for you now, actually, because I've always wondered, have you ever had offers from coaches saying that they're willing to coach you and you just thought, no?
I think I've always been quite open, that I've always trained myself and done my own programming. So I think maybe that's quite a big sell, isn't it? To go, well, now I could do your coaching and be way better than you are. All right.
Nah,
Yeah, maybe they would have been, but I don't know.
I think people nowadays are too scared to slide into your DMs, Tony. Could you imagine a junior lifter that's only competed once slide into Tony's DM saying, "I think I can coach you, man. I think I got you."
Yeah. I'm
chance that's gonna
I'm
happen.
not sure about that. Maybe I'll get loads of them after this. I don't know.
You get DMs from coaches telling you that you actually went on Sabado podcast and telling our lifters to leave us or not pay for the coaching.
Yeah. Well, you know.
But if this conversation,
if they were any good, then they wouldn't be worried about that, would they?
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's true though. I mean, it's true. And I was just about to say the same thing. Like, if you're in that fucking position, that's reflective of yourself, not of anyone else.
Yeah.
We did a post as well during the week on like people's opinions on how much they would pay as well. It was quite interesting. From £0 to £50, we got 36 views. Oh, sorry, votes. 76 people said that they'll pay £100. 18 people said they'd pay 150 to 200, and 10 people said they'd pay 250 to 300. So I think those people on board with 100.
Those 10 people are a director like Tony Cliffe.
Oh no, those 10 people are the people that actually charge that amount.
So they're okay.
100%.
I was gonna say, if not, I've got a program to sell you, bro. It's really good. 250.
250.
Discount only for you, down to 200.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be £700, but for you,
yeah. Indy, I've got a bench program for you.
I'll take it. I'll take it. How much?
Yes.
Let me sell my house.
I just find it crazy. I just find me, to be honest, like, because maybe just my mindset again is being the African, not wanting to spend money for the sake of it. It's just thinking £300, 250 on a program on the sport like powerlifting. I know, Tony Cliffe, you broke down about how you can justify the 160, but it's still in my head. I'm thinking, hang on, we are no football, we're no basketball, we're not even bloody anything that can bring you something. Do you know what I mean? For you to spend £300 on a sport that you call a hobby, okay, when you're single, you can do whatever you want, but when you're like people like us that have misses and families, I'm spending £300 on powerlifting. I don't think even I'm going to be sitting on the sofa. I'll probably be sleeping in my garage every day.
Yeah, you know,
do you know what I mean?
It's very difficult to justify. Yeah,
even if someone gave me
other priorities. Yeah.
If someone gave me £300 a month, like they gave it to me, they're like, "This is for programming." I'd still struggle to give that money to someone for programming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like the brown kid in my head will be like, "Yo, my dad's gonna kick the fucking shit out of me." Like, you know what I mean? I'm getting like flashbacks. I'm hiding under the sofa, like, please, like, no, just for me personally, that is like, if people can justify it, they can justify it, but like, I wouldn't pay it.
I'll just throw a little counter argument because I know the way the state powerlifting is as of now, and also the complexity of powerlifting programming and coaching is it's hard to justify paying 300, 400, 500 pounds a month. But when you do compare it to something like, for example, let's say if I went to, because you did judo yourself, Tony, if you wanted like a hour session in a judo class, if you wanted like a gym membership where the tutor will come and give you some work in an hour, that would probably add to 150, 200 per month, give or take. And swimming lessons can be 60, 50 pounds per hour, you know? So it's there are other sports where if you went, I'm paying 300 for my programming, they'll go, is that all? You know, we pay close to 1,000. So I think maybe long-term as powerlifting gets more complex, maybe, quote unquote, or maybe coaching knowledge gets more complex, it might justify the 300, 400, 500 pound range. But there are also there are other sports out there that do charge a lot more.
I get that, but I'm willing to bet money. I don't waste money, so this bet's a fucking big bet. If every single coach just upped their prices to fucking 300-400 quid, powerlifting would die.
Yeah.
Or everybody would self-coach. If every coach was 400 quid a month, just as an example, in this economy in particular, how many people would have coaches?
No, a lot of people would start.
Hardly anyone. Yeah.
It's not justifiable.
No.
You know, and I know we can now make money in like tested powerlifting, but that's Sheffield. How many people?
But only that you're saying we can make money. That can make money is only 0.5%
This
of
is what I
powerlifting
mean.
on the
This is
entire
what I mean.
planet.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
like it's a difficult one. Or like for me, like if someone's willing to spend the money, like no one can say to them, "Fucking stop! Don't spend that money," because at the end of the day, it's their life, their choose. If someone willing to charge that amount, again, it's that coach's like opinion. But for me, it comes down to the lifter to be like, "This is what I expect. If it's not meeting your expectations, you move on."
Well, you'd be saying if you were spending that amount of money, you'd get hypercritical of everything that you'd be provided, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, everything.
Like you'd be all over all of it, like a rash.
Yes, of course. Mo, was that it? Oh yeah, Indy, did you have other things you wanted to speak upon?
Nah. Well, it's just negativity. Let's end on positive.
What is it?
I
What
do have
is
this.
it?
Nah, don't worry. It was a conversation about the things you groups of people you hate in powerlifting. Someone asked me, and I was like, look, as in like his comment. I'm not naming any names. Shout out Dan Clark. He's like hates people who fucking like have lifted ones and bring like SLR cameras into the fucking thing with like wall mounted fucking automatic sensing fucking tripods and shit like that. And there was a few others as well. But like I understand. For me, the one thing that's fucking pissing me off recently is people fucking recording all of their warm-ups. I'll put this on my story as well. If you're showing me you warming up with the bar and then 70 and then I'm fucking turning you off. I'm not watching your top set. Stop that shit.
Would you say this is a TikTok trend? Don't you? One of
it's
these?
Such it's a TikTok wanker trend. People are like, oh, but it gets views. I'm like, yeah, but if someone fucking rubs their scrotum on the floor outside, it'll probably get views as well. Doesn't mean you should be fucking. Stop
Try
it. Get some help.
Try it.
So, Joe, what's the group of people you hate in powerlifting?
What, me?
Yeah.
Anyone over 600 total.
I don't really hate, to be honest.
Oh, bullshit.
Come on.
I
Bullshit.
don't, man.
I've known you for years. So you say, come on.
You want me to get the group chat out?
You could look for things that I said I hate, but I mean I have dislikes, but it's not strong dislikes.
Okay, what's the strong? What's this? Well, the mild dislike.
Mild dislike is like when your lifter says things like, "Oh, I want to push every single session up until Malta, from here till now," and you're like, "No," and they're like, "Why?" And that's a mild dislike of mine.
Sounds very particular. What
I wonder who that means. Who you mean?
I mean,
does this lifter play with his food?
He looks at it a lot though.
No wonder. That's why you see, I got a mission to drain the 597 you have, bro. Let's go.
Oh my days.
Yeah. So, Mo, what about you?
Dislikes. I don't think I have any, to be fair.
Oh, here we go.
The only thing
he dislikes upright squats.
Oh my days.
Dislikes Tesco bags.
Only thing I can think of is like just juniors, just new lifters.
Here we go.
Just new lifters.
Just full stop. That's it. That's
it. Just doesn't like them. Loves them.
Just don't like the lifters.
No, it's just new lifters being over specific so early. You know, it's like you're coming into powerlifting and you're very into your SBD days, you're very into the shoes you're wearing, you're very into the Eleiko bench pad, the Eleiko calibrated plate. You're not gonna do your good mornings without an Eleiko bar or barbell rows without an Eleiko bar. You know, it's like when you first start off, realistically speaking, a lot of people that do come into powerlifting nowadays, especially, you honestly could do a lot better with the bodybuilding program, you know, actually put on some mass. And you don't see the bodybuilders caring about what barbell they're going to row with, or they're going to bench with, or what platform they're going to use to deadlift. You know, you don't have to be so hyper specific and need everything to be pristine when you first train. As you progress, you definitely need to, I wouldn't underestimate training in the condition to compete with. As you progress, you will know 100%, you know, when you need to cross over and be more more focused on your environment you're training with. But early on, honestly, you probably are better off spending 20-30 minutes doing your bench, squat, and deadlift, and then the rest actually spend time in the gym growing, because that's what you need to do long term.
Tony, what about you?
Oh, it's such a long list.
Number 1, George McLaughlin.
Oh, shit.
I'll go with equipped lifters that bash classic lifters and classic lifters that bash equipped lifters. When
Mo.
One
Well,
or
I
the
love
other side.
equipped. I love
tried.
equipped lifting. It's Jones that bashes the equipped lifters.
What? Oh, no, all I said is equipped bench don't count. That's all I said.
Well, bench only don't count anyway. It's fine. That's my group. The ones that, especially the people that knock it and they've never done it. And you go, well, what are you talking about? Why do you care? Like, they have so much hatred of what other people are doing. I'm just like, why does this phase you in any way?
Funny you should say that, right? Because I'm gonna dob him in it now. Is Dan Dito, Dan Clark. Fuck you, Dan. Because one of his dislikes were equipped lifters that give it 10 when they wouldn't even place equipped in the raw standard of their weight category.
Yeah, I've heard that one before, haven't I? I was like, yeah, I mean, if we want the standard of equipped lifting to be higher, though, more of us need to do equipped lifting, don't we? Just fucking moan about it and go and beat them at the equipped.
Shut up, Dan.
Tony, what do you think of was it equipped championships being done raw?
Well, I did it raw, so
you've done one, yeah.
I did the one before the British Classic. I did that.
Yeah,
I did that raw.
Yeah, the only reason you do that because no one will come close to you, even if they're wearing a bench shirt or a squat shirt.
Wait, if somebody turned up with equipment on, I'd have put equipment on to beat them. I should have to because nobody competed.
If I put a bench shirt on, I'd easily get Tony Cliffe's third warm up.
I wouldn't stretch it that far, to be honest with you.
You pipe down first, break the deadlift off the floor. We'll have a conversation.
I'll send you a shirt. We'll see if you can bench 230 in it.
Mo, you could be lifting on the moon. You wouldn't pull 391. Not even zero gravity's helping that pull, bro.
I think everyone in this podcast we should try equipped at least once.
Yeah. I've tried it already.
We should organise that.
I think my squat would be quite good in equipped.
Yeah, I think it would.
I think I would be able to pull. I would be able to pull 350 on equipped.
I don't think the equipped makes that much difference
as much
on deadlift.
Yeah.
Then I'm not trying that.
Maybe sumo does a bit. I think
sumo, you
does,
get a bit of pop out of sumo. Yeah. I think you pull it raw anyway. So.
Ooh. But don't you have an issue like with equipped sumo deadlift? Isn't the lockout like an issue for a lot of people because it's an issue for Jurans without equipped?
The biggest issue really is grip.
Mo, you're fucked.
What did I do to you, bro? I didn't say anything bad about you, bro.
I told you you're fucking getting it today.
I'm out.
Oh gosh, but me, like,
go on, Jay.
With me, the people that I don't hate people. That's a very strong word. People that actually just infuriate me is number one, people that buy fake followers on Instagram for the fact that they want to look big lifters, right? Number two is the people that goes on about, oh, I'm coming for this person. I'm going to totally this for this person. I just sit there and think, mate, the person you're talking about, he's 80, 90 kilo ahead of you, right? So that person openers are more than your entire life total. But you're talking about you're going to go to this meet and beat that person or beat that person's toe. People like that, to me, they just infuriate me. These are the people where they lift when they're lifting on the platform. I don't even bother to watch it because I don't see the point. Because I know probably the next thing oh yeah, my hamstring will go, or the next thing I'm gonna break my toes and all of that shit because they just want to push for something that is not there. And I hate that group of people. My advice is always like, get to your comp, do your best that you did last. Don't go there thinking I'm going to talk more than Tony Cliffe or Indy or Mo. No, because we've had in the other group chat where James Sadcock and Nathan talking about the other people coming
Who?
for Mo. Do you know what I mean?
Who
So
said that?
James Hadcock and
Oh.
Nathan talking about, we have this person that potentially can come and beat Mo. I'm thinking, look, no offense to those people, they're strong in what they're doing, but they never step on the powerlifting platform.
Sorry,
So,
James, who again? I forgot. I didn't hear the last.
Sorry, let's
surname
give
again.
1 second. Let me give Tony a backstory. Tony, essentially, it's a lifter that lifts in their gym. He does a lot of TikTok lifts and like circus lifts and like freaky lifts and stuff like that. He does like squatting and stuff. And their opinion was that if he came into fucking 105s, he'd immediately be problems. And our response was, it's completely fucking different. First, you have command, you have things you need to hit, like people putting in all this effort. Someone's just not going to be a TikTok lifter, come across and then automatically be like champion, essentially. Because that maybe in 10 years ago, but the standards at the moment are way too high for that to happen.
It's really, and then people like that, no offense to them, they're very strong individual, right? What they do probably something not a normal human being can do. I respect that. But for you to put that on the platform, this is what the only thing that pissed me off, because almost there's no respect to the sport that we do. Some of us that sacrifice all this time, all these effort we do in the gym on a daily basis, and then we'd get people like that saying, "Oh yeah, if this person come there, he's gonna wipe your ass on this." And I'm thinking, like, what the fuck, man? I've been here for
people think gym lifts automatically means comp lifts. Like if you've hit something in the gym, means that's it. It's there on the comp day. And I had this discussion with these lot, and I had this. I'll tell you now anyway, and everyone who's listening. I had this discussion with Rondell. Now, pound for pound, he's probably the most scary, fucking monstrous person I know of. Tested. And he posted some lifting, and I was commenting on it, and he was like on about his deadlifting. He goes, "No, what does open powerlifting say?" He goes, "Open powerlifting says mine's 380, yours is 385.5. That's all I give a fuck about, essentially." And he's like, "I need to just pull on the platform." And I was like, "Yeah, fair. Whatever you pull at like nationals, I'll try and match at worlds." And we were just having like a joke about it, and I shared his 372 double, and he memed it. He goes, "I have failed you." I don't know if you saw it, essentially. And I was just like, if someone at this level can think like that, then why can't juniors and people at like every level just be like, we need to show it on the platform, rather than being like, because I hit this at the gym, I'm gonna hit this at a comp very fucking easily. It's not how it works.
No, I mean, it's interesting what Jorans was saying earlier. Was actually what I was thinking. I didn't get to ask you the question, which was, well, do you have your like home comp PBs and international PBs in your mind as well? Because lifting like PB and international is completely different. Like, so compared to like lifting at home or a divisional or whatever. Like, so in my mind, I'm thinking like my best squat at international is like 332.5. So I was thinking about, but I just need to go and beat that. If I can start, my starting point for like my next competition is to try and beat that squat, and then worry about whether or not I can beat a 350 or anything else. It's like, because going to an international, it's a completely different set of circumstances. You've got all the travel, you've got different food, you don't know what the weather's going to be like, you don't know what your accommodation is going to be like, whether you can get hold of what you need. Like, people just expect that what you've been doing in the gym at home training, you're going to suddenly just be able to perform and deliver that at international, and that doesn't always carry over. And I think as lifters get more and more experienced, and as the competition standards have improved over the years, it's got easier to replicate. Whereas I've been to competitions internationally that have been absolutely crap, like from a warm-up room perspective, the accommodation perspective, getting to and from the competition, time of your weigh-ins, like 5 a.m, like just ridiculous stuff that you have to sort of cope with at international. And then over the years, it's got better and better and better. And you go away now, and it's almost like, it's almost like perfect conditions is better than what you would have got at home. So things have changed sort of significantly over that period of time that I've been lifting to make it easier to actually perform at your best. Whereas
it's just a point to add to that is, I feel like, especially like I mean, I don't know. I can't talk about other nations, right? Because we're all Brits. In Britain, I feel personally, I feel like the powerlifting surrounding Britain, they don't give our international enough credit. Well, we don't get enough credit. I know some people see us thinking, oh, that's a very strong boy. Tony Cliffe has been there for years. He's Mr. Powerlifting. But the reality is, when you look at it across, there's not enough credit to what people have achieved internationally. As you mentioned there, when you're traveling, you're going to compete. There's a lot of factors that you have to go through. But for instance, last year when we went to South Africa, you guys will probably see how flights were being cancelled left, right, and center. There were lifters that literally took 26 hours, 28 hours to get to South Africa on a journey of 10 hours. All of these things plays a part of it. That when we come to our nation here, people just think, oh yeah, he's just wearing a Team GB because he's a favorite of a team coach. But the head coach just likes him, or the team like him. That's why it is. If I get a Team GB singlet, I can do better than him at the international. You don't know that. And then I'd see there's not really enough credit to our internationals. And I just want to highlight that what the international go through, again, what TC said there, is different from you lifting in your divisional or lifting at the British. Right? I know at the British, even though we got these shitty venues that we keep on bashing every single year, but still, it isn't in Britain. Sometimes maybe you're driving 2 hours, 3 hours, and you got all the perfect condition, you got your family around. At the international, you don't, especially in the past. 2018, the worst international ever. I didn't even know Team GB existed. I thought I was just alone. You know what I mean? And then you come to 2019, the only person that made Team GB existed was Dylan, because he was getting pissed left, right, and center. Do you know what I mean? The reality is to say that lifting at home is different when you're lifting abroad. But our GB international, they don't get enough credit. I'm not saying here for people to start praising us when they see us passing around, but I see people getting praised as a GB lifter that have done a bench only comp and wear GB singlet everywhere they go. People thinking, oh my God, hey, that's a GB lifter. But the reality is, the real lifters, the full free lift guys, they don't get that credit at all.
What would you say about that, athlete commissioner?
I agree.
Okay, cool. Symbols. But yeah, I mean, any other topics we want to cover, lads? Because wow, that was very good. I'm happy we got to kind of go full circle, because just like Juran said, it's not been spoken of, but we did have this opportunity to speak about it in this episode, celebrating the GB lifters and what they've accomplished so far to get to where they're at, especially such as renowned Tony Cliffe here, countless international experience. Man, I fucking lost track.
I'd one thing to say, Joey, that you brought it up in the last couple of podcasts, which was what can the lifters do to give back to British powerlifting? What can we do for the sport?
Yes,
I
sir.
think, and there wasn't a lot came back from that. We went around the houses and started talking about things that the sport could do for us, right? So I think there was a couple of things that I think we could do or encourage other people to do as lifters, is to volunteer, right? To help out, to spot and load at competitions, to be on the table, to assist, to promote, to put on championships themselves. If you want it to get better, people have got to volunteer to do things for the sport. And the biggest issue we've had is finding people to volunteer to do anything. Certainly at a board level, to get anyone to come forward and assist and try and make an effort and be in a position to try and make things happen.
Actually, no, Tony, I'm happy you brought that up, because I've actually been surrounded by the younger lifters, right? As Mo would like to put it, and I've heard from what they've had to say. Well, they're not even juniors, actually. They're in the open.
Your association with younger lifters. I don't know what you're doing in a group of younger lifters by yourself, Joey.
Well, just saying a few years younger than me. Anyways, and the consensus was that they did bring up the fact that we did say there's a system in place whereby you could help your federation by volunteering. And upon hearing that, their feedback or their sort of say when I was there, literally word for word, was that why should we volunteer? We've paid money into the federation. We shouldn't be expected to volunteer. And I'm just like, oh well, yeah, that's on you.
Then you can't then complain when things don't go your way or how you want them to go, or championships aren't run in a place you want them to. And then I'd even fucking go one further than that, and I say you have no fucking right to complain about any volunteers or any judges or any judges' calls, because you've removed your ability to do so by acting like a knob.
It's the same argument about not voting, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
it's exactly the same. If you're not gonna put the time into the sport and make an effort and make it better for what you want it to be and make it what you want it to be, you can't just rely on other people to do that for you.
Yeah.
You've got to step up, and you've got to make an effort, and you've got to make it. You've got to be the change you want to see. So
Yeah.
that's
I
what
mean,
we've got to do.
I don't disagree with what you guys have said at all. I just find it, in a way, as us lifters, how we could sort of turn that narrative around for them, because they feel as though there's no benefits, I would assume, into actually putting time and effort in, because they feel as though they've paid their membership, so that's it for them. Here you go, here's money, do something about it.
Fuck all money, really. If you think about it, it's fuck all money, really, that they've given.
Do you think though it's more of a generational thing though? Because I don't think, even outside of powerlifting, in terms of like even your local communities and going out for like picking rubbish or like maintaining the gardens and things like that, or like even in your own little estates where you live, it's almost like it's a generational thing where younger people these days don't. I bet they're more aware of their time, or they think the time has more value, or they need to be paid in order to do things. Like volunteering is not necessarily a big thing to do these days among the younger generation, or my generation, to be honest with you. So I don't know whether it's something you can convince them to do. I don't know if I don't know how you go about it.
I don't know. Is it even that it's this generation of young people? It's just young people. Like, you maybe take the same young people 30 years ago, they probably weren't the people volunteering to help out at powerlifting competitions. But I think as you get older, you realize that the way this works, the way the sport currently functions, is it only functions because of the volunteers, and it only functions because of people that have been lifters for a while that come back and support their sport, their love of that sport, by volunteering and helping and assisting make things happen. And I think as you've been around it for long enough, you realize all the people in those positions of perceived power or perceived influence, they're just ex-lifters. They're just people like you were 20, 30 years ago, and they just happen to be left, and they come back, and because of the love of the sport, they're still giving back to it. That's why I always worry, like we're sat at competition, and you see the age of referees. When I first started competing, they were very, very old. The referees were ancient, 70, 80, 90 years old, sat on the jury and all that. And like over time, that has got better. That more and more people have volunteered to referee and become referees, and we've seen that across all the divisions, and that's been very successful. I just think people just need to take ownership. It's your sport. It's not no one else owns it. It's ours. Like, the members own the sport. So if we're not going to volunteer and make it what it is, it's not going to go anywhere.
I think
we've got to make the difference.
Volunteering is the first step, right? I know you mentioned about the board and all of that. It doesn't mean like you need to have some sort of skills and get. We're not saying people here go and get a position on the board. No, volunteering. The first step is just in your division. Right? Find something in the division that you can help, even if like just be in a warm-up room when there is a division running. Something like that. Or even if you say, okay, if you have the skills that some of us don't have, media skills or whatever, you want to help your division website or even Facebook account or IG account, do that. So it's just it's a different way. I mean, one of the things I was looking at, the financial statement for this year, I saw something like £8,000 was spending on the website, while the British Powerlifting website. As members, I know in this federation we have people with so much skills that they can actually offer the service to do that for free. If you are out there, come in. So just imagine that £8,000 for us spending for someone to maintain the website. If you volunteer to do it, that £8,000 can go back to the sport. It
You
can
know
help
what?
this person more than another.
Even if the £8,000 stuck and the website had an immense like upgrade, I'll be happy.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't. I think I'm with George. I think that money could be spent better elsewhere, and I think there's knowledge and skill in the membership that could do this for nothing. And if we had the right mechanisms for people to be able to volunteer, to be able to put themselves forward to do something to assist, maybe we should be looking at that and trying to improve that. To get engage with the membership to say what skill sets have we got out there where you could assist, and don't make the jobs of being involved with British powerlifting so big and immersive that they become too scary for anyone to want to take on.
I think we spoke about it.
Should break them down into little chunks of actual function and go, can somebody volunteer to do this little bit? I mean, that's how Northwest Powerlifting Championships run.
Yeah,
and
division
they
of
work
labor.
well. Is because they break it all down. Little tasks. This is the morning session. This is the afternoon session. These are all the little bits. These are all the little jobs that we want people to do. Can you volunteer for one of these small jobs? Not be the guy who's going to be in charge of the entire thing, because that becomes a bit too much and a bit scary. But the only way, like the progression of that would be somebody comes in to be the performance director, but as part of being a performance director, they put together a committee and they break the tasks down into little tasks, and they assign them to that group of people to do, rather than it all being on one person to do the entire role, which becomes impossible almost with people that have got full-time jobs.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So if you see what you just said, that if you did actually turn up to the last AGM, you could have said that, share your ideas, but you didn't turn up. But anyway, on that note, we did talk about that. So it's like we did talk to the chairman about this, and the CEO about. I know they were talking about how some role on the board, even on the board of where you sit, like the financial director role and all of that. These roles have not been really appealing to people. The reality is, you look at the job description of this role, you're thinking, someone like me, even if I said, like, I'm going to volunteer, and I look at the job description, I'm thinking, I already have a full-time job.
Yeah, it'd be impossible.
Do you know what I mean? That's impossible. But if you, as you said, if you break that thing down into chunks, like, okay, I can potentially say, okay, every week I can give you 2 hours. Because at the end of the day, it's a volunteer job. I can give you 2 hours. Another person can give you 2 hours. And then you get like 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. That's enough.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So we need somebody to set up being able to coordinate all of that, right? To be able to coordinate in the communication. That's the big bit that's needed. Like, so that's where you probably need somebody who's, semi-retired or retired to just help coordinate all of those tasks. I think that's the hardest bit. You're trying to pull all of that together.
Yeah. Man. Well,
so thank you. Note, Joe, what are you going to volunteer on the board? What role are you going to do? Media?
No, I want to do jury work. I reckon I'll be good at that. Yeah.
Damn. So you just want to do jury work to start turning people's lifts down, like Tony Cliffe's deadlift?
Turn them all over positively. He's only going to give white lights for anything.
No,
you never know.
Can't even give white lights to himself. Anyway, moving on.
I'd give some to Mo's 391. But yeah, man. I mean, guys, any other topics? Because I think we've covered a good amount.
I need to eat, bro.
No, just a last question to TC. Are we going to be having you every week or every other week?
Oh, maybe I could probably do every other week. Yeah.
That's perfect, man.
If it's the same time every week we're doing this.
More or less, yeah.
More or less,
I can do it every week.
All right, well, just to cap it all off, I'd like to thank Tony Cliffe once again for joining us. I hope.
Thanks for having me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm always glad that Mo is here. Jury's still out for Indy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's fun, but then it gets not so fun. But yeah.
So Indy has got 2 Thanos on this podcast: Tony Cliffe and Mo. Go on, Joey.
So for everyone listening, I hope you've enjoyed listening so far. Any questions, by all means, shoot it at any one of us. Tony is very welcoming, athlete commissioner himself. Indy is Indy, and Mo, he seems to be getting it on with the junior lifters. So by all means, keep shooting it his way. And
You're not putting me in
share,
here, man.
like, share, like, subscribe, everyone. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. See you again.